A capacity crowd expected here at Breese-Stevens Field for the culmination of what could be a tremendous Madison Radicals experience. They're looking for their 32nd straight win at home. The Seattle Cascades standing in the way. Madison and Seattle next. Burt judged it beautifully.
In this league, if you have an off day and the other team has a normal day, you lose.
We're going to get those people who get that killer instinct.
Heading into the end zone for the score. Man-to-man defense here for the Radicals leads to a Callahan. A gorgeous day in Madison becomes a perfect Saturday night for Ultimate. It's Madison Radicals Day here in Wisconsin. Can they cap off the experience with a win against the Seattle Cascades? That we'll find out over the next couple of hours. The second semifinal here from Breese-Stevens Field begins right now. Welcome to Championship Weekend again, everybody. Evan Lepler with Megan Tormey and Chuck Kindred. We saw the Dallas Roughnecks race past the Toronto Rush by 7, so these teams are battling for the right to face Dallas tomorrow. And Megan, in Championship Weekend, it's about experiencing a challenge that you've never had before. And I think both for Seattle and Madison, that's the case.
Absolutely. Madison, in particular, has not faced a team with really strong offensive handlers. And against Seattle, that's something they're going to see.
And the Cascade cutters are going to be dynamic. But with that said, Seattle is ready for the test. Madison has some tricks up its sleeve.
It does. Madison is one of those teams that you seem like you can scout them, you've got your matchups figured out, but then when you play them in Breese-Stevens, there's something about the wind here, the crowd, the comfort level they have with each other, and just the familiarity with their surroundings. Madison is a tough out for anybody.
They'll be battling against not just the Radicals' active 20-man roster, but also perhaps 4,000 or 5,000 Radicals fans in the stands. The Seattle Cascades raced through the West Division playoffs behind a spectacular performance from Nick Stewart, a guy who didn't play a whole lot in the regular season, Chuck, but his emergence has been a huge difference. Those numbers are just in 2 playoff games.
And those calves are just one man's muscle mass. This guy's insane. His acceleration, his leaping ability. He was really moving at a different speed from a lot of guys, and the problem with that is he's also bigger than a lot of guys.
Pairing him with Matt Rader, Zane Rankin, Mark Burton downfield. Madison is going to have a tough time matching up with it. A guy like Peter Graffey is going to have to lead the way. He was #1 in the league during the regular season in defense. The Luther College product has a tall task on his hands tonight.
He's going to be the key element that will help Madison battle that element they haven't seen before. Really strong offensive handlers and a lot of depth with their downfield cutters. He's going to position himself in the field to take away as many opportunities from Seattle's big names as possible.
Madison in its 4th straight championship weekend, but they've never won the title. They've never played a playoff game at this level in front of these fans. It's the Cascades and the Radicals battling the right for the right to face Dallas in the opening pull coming up here from Breese-Stevens Field. Welcome back to Breese-Stevens Field, everybody. There's great energy in that beer garden at the end zone, and then check out the crowd on hand here in Madison. They love their Ultimate, and this is one of the great crowds you've ever seen for the sport of Ultimate. As the Radicals try to defend their home turf, the Seattle Cascades, can they be impervious to these hostile conditions? We are getting set to find out. Seattle's going to start the game on defense in their road white jerseys. The Radicals at home in their blue and gold jerseys. They have won 32 out of 33 games in this facility. The only loss coming back in early May of 2013 to the Windy City Wildfire. Duncan Lynn launches the opening pull. A booming backhand to get us started. received by Tom Annan. He'll center to Andrew Brown, and we'll see how the Cascades match up. Kevin Brown, back from injury, his first AUDL game in over a month. Here's Colin Camp. Back to Andrew Brown, picked up by Duncan Lynn. Jesse Bolton is on Tom Annan. Of course, Donnie Clark, who's been so good on offense at times, on defense today, looking deep to Colin Camp. He's got him, and he's backpacked at the end of the play by Joe Sefton. 1-0 Madison.
That was a really fun matchup, that whole point. Right off the centering pass, Colin Camp grinding in the lane against BJ Sefton. I'm not sure why BJ just laid into him at the end of that point. Not a big fan of that.
All in all, you have to think that that's exactly the point that Tim DeBile wanted his team to play. It was clean, it was calm. They were using all of their players.
Donnie Clark has been so
good on offense at times, on defense today. Looking deep to Colin Camp, he's got him, and he's backpacked at the end of the play by Joe Sefton. 1-0 Madison leads. Apologies for the audio intricacy. I know hearing my voice one level is enough. So Seattle's offense was really the story of their weekend in Los Angeles a couple weeks ago. They diced their way through the Aviators and then made the FlameThrowers look unfamiliar with Frisbee at times. Simon Montague will handle the center handling duties. Mark Burton gives the first touch to Matt Rader, and here's Zane Rankin. Mechanix begins on Rankin. It's Graffy on Burton. Riggles is on Stewart downfield with Kevin Pettit-Scantling chasing Rader. Montague throws it up high. Stewart can't get it, but Rankin can. And the Cascades catch a break to tie it at 1.
That's a heads-up play from Zane Rankin. He's always got an eye for the end zone. He's just one of those excitable, young, up-and-coming talents already at the very top of the game. And nice job there. Nick Stewart made Riggles commit, made him go up, even though Nick was obviously way out in front. Watch Nick. Commits, forces Riggles to commit, and off the backside, there were 2 Cascades ready to make the catch.
Madison has to be pleased with Montague taking that shot. Didn't come out of his hands as crisply as he wanted it to.
And ultimately, that's really what their defense is looking to do, make the opposing team take tricky shots. They think more often than not, they're going to be the ones who's coming down with the D. That didn't work in their favor that time, but they certainly had their defense in the appropriate position.
Ben Snell launching the pull. Chuck, what are your keys to the game for Seattle?
Well, Seattle came out in LA and they just played big boy ultimate. Like, they absolutely physically imposed themselves, opened up the deep game, and just took control. And I think they can do that here. I think they outclass Madison in terms of talent and athleticism. If they come out and put their foot down early, they can establish control of this game.
Tom Annan, marked by Dong Yang Chen. Authored plenty of highlights down the stretch of the season. Brown hits Brown underneath. Andrew to Kevin, looking for Schreiwise. Got him. Pat Schreiwise doesn't receive a ton of hype, but he's as solid a cutter as the league has.
So slick, and you see, I mean, he's going up against Donnie Clark. Donnie saw that throw coming, started to accelerate, and we've seen Donnie just run away from guys, but not Pat. I mean, Pat is so below the radar, so understated, never brags, you know, never flashy. But you ask the guys who played against him, and all of them give him his props. He is a real tough cover. And you can see here, nothing Donnie could do. Uses that big frame, too, to kind of seal him out, put him on his back. Nice play from Pat.
Less than 90 seconds in, we've already seen 3 scores. The Radicals have the best defense in the league. They only allowed their opponents to score about 16, 17 goals per game during the regular season. You think the Radicals want to play fast and see this game get up into the high 20s from both sides, or do they want to try to slow it down?
Generally, they want to keep it slow, I think, but we talked to Nate Volkman of the Radicals yesterday.
And here's Montague launching, looking for Stewart. Jay Frood nearby. Stewart boxed him out, but Frood comes up with a D.
A lot of contact off the backside there. Really not a good throw. I mean, geez, Nick Stewart really doesn't need to be just playing jump balls. So fast.
First turnover of the game. Graffy His head coach, Tim DeBile, said he might be our best thrower right now. He hits the bearded giant, Matt Weber, marked by Caldwell. Stall count rising. Graffy plucks it over the shoulder of Montague. Seth Meyer wide open. Bill Everhart, southpaw on this Madison D-line to Graffy. Graffy uncorks, looking for Mechnik. Got him! The partisan crowd erupts on the game's first break. Mechnik in the end zone for the Radicals.
You have to applaud Madison for their level-headedness that play. Seattle was really getting there defensively, taking away a lot of opportunities by clogging up the lane, but Madison kept their head. You saw Graffy beat the reset over and over again, waiting for that opportunity to open up, and Mechnik, of course Mechnik, gave him that opportunity.
Chuck, Danny Karlinski, a special thrower, but this appears to be a mismatch on a turnover that Madison might be able to exploit from both the size and speed perspective.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Mechnik can go up and battle with your biggest guys. Karlinski doing his best to get up there and make it a difficult catch, but really not going to do much to Andrew Mechnik in the air. To finish the thought I started earlier, Nate Volkman said that Madison really wants to play man. And look at that.
On Madison, or Madison forces a stall on Montague.
On some hard man D. I mean, they wanted that to be their focus. They wanted to have some help off the far side handler defender, potentially for the deep shots. And they're looking pretty strong in the man right now.
Graffy picks up. Nice leaping catch by Frood. Really a special player, was a Radicals rookie last year, made a great defensive play early in their game against Raleigh in the semifinals. Here's Riggles slicing to the end zone. Graffy has another Radicals break.
I mean, that's a statement. Nick Stewart standing flat-footed right in front of Riggles, and he throws a wrong-sided IO flick here.
Well, and if you notice, Graffy was the individual who threw to Riggles in the first place. He threw and went instantaneously.
That's
probably
an easier lefty backhand there for the big fella, but the tougher inside flick worked out too.
Nothing about Riggles really makes sense.
It's true.
So you can add this to the list, but it sure works. He finds a way to get it done.
Well, Madison riding the energy of its crowd, taking a lead. Scott Riggles missed their division title game against Pittsburgh. Was out with a bad bruise on his heel.
Oh, those are the worst.
And Riggles actually missed championship weekend last year, if you remember, because his young son was just born right before then. Could not make the trip out to San Jose, and that was a big missing cog for the Radicals last year against the Spiders.
It's really true. Jesse Bolton gets open deep and a stall. Madison's man D is insane.
Unbelievable. Abe Coffin was on the mark. Sefton had nowhere to go. Brian Hart to Everhart. Bill Everhart marked by Bolton. It was intended for Hart. Mechnik bids just shy of the goal line and then threw it into traffic, and it did not work out.
And that's the conservation of greatness there. Mechnik makes the spectacular layout and immediately biffs the next throw.
Foul on the mark here. You're seeing a double team. Hart and Mechnik. O'Brien pivots through the pressure. You can study this Madison double team for weeks, and it's still not like playing against it and seeing it for the first time in person.
It's a scary look, and you've only got 7 seconds. It can be very difficult to keep your composure.
And then when you think about the defensive prowess they have downfield, if you put something up over the top, it's liable to get picked off.
Frood is playing spectacular.
Incredible energy. Here's Sefton. Back to Duncan Lynn. He's going to be important today. Duncan Lynn is. The Cascades are without Reed Koss, who's in Poland, helped pilot the USA junior men's team to a gold medal early this morning in Wrocław, Poland. But Koss has often been the the handler to this D-line, the engine that makes them go off a turn.
It's right, and you know, in your away games, you need those veteran guys to keep everybody calm, and they're going to miss them today. They're already getting punched in the mouth by this Madison D. I think if Reed's here, everybody settles down a little bit.
Harkness squeezes it through to Sefton. He still needs at least one more throw to the end zone, and he gets it back through a tight space.
That's nice. B.J. Sefton all through that point, hitting those quick little step-around backhands. He's a guy they're going to need to get some production out of. I just heard earlier today as well that Phil Murray broke his leg or broke his foot potentially, so that's a big loss. He played great for them in the second half of the season.
And the playoff games against Los Angeles and San Francisco, he showed just an unbelievable ability to launch it on the D-line.
Yeah, it was a guy that you just trust him. When you see him with the disc or you see him cutting downfield, you feel good as a teammate. Here you can see Sefton just getting around these marks. Just a little step around, probably got fouled in the process, but not a lot you can do. I mean, watch, as a mark, he just steps around, he gets that arm there. If you reach down with your arm, that's a foul. If you don't, he's pretty much going to get his break.
So that score snaps a 3-0 run from Madison. And you just wonder, can Seattle find it within themselves to match Madison's energy, which has been boosted by this incredible arena? Andrew Brown struggling to find an option, gets it to Shriwise. Hussein Carnegie, who began the year as a member of the Los Angeles Aviators, moved up to Seattle, joined the Cascades, was not able to play with them during the playoffs, was legally forbidden from playing against the Aviators in the first round of the playoffs. Part of the contractual release that allowed him to transition to Seattle. Colin Camp holstering the shot.
Man, I wanted to see that go up. Dave Wiseman against Matt Rader.
Back to Annan, to Brown. Annan racing up the line. Gorgeous touch on the forehand from Brown. Annan gets a reset of the stall as his mark departed him. They switched Will Chen and Sam Harkness. Now Kevin Brown breaks the mark to Shriwise.
The patience right now from Madison is pretty impressive.
It's what Tim DeBile has preached for a long time. Jaden Scullion hits Pat Shriwise for the score.
That's a masterful point from Madison. So many opportunities to take, you know, 60, 70% shots, and they holster all of them. They keep working it. They move it to the break side. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun to see them not take those chances, the ones that were pretty tight. I'm sure Seattle was just begging Madison to let it off so that they could battle in the air, but instead Madison stayed calm, collected, marched it in, swinging it across the end zone a few times, waiting for someone to get open.
Pretty fun to see, you know, when we first started covering the Madison Radicals a couple years ago, Andrew Brown clearly the better of the two brothers, and now we're seeing almost a complete transition. Not that Andrew's really lost anything, but Kevin has gotten so good and throwing so many goals. It used to be, I mean, a couple years ago when Kevin got the disc, you were nervous. You're like, well, I don't know, maybe give it a quick reset, Kevin, get back downfield. But now, he's really driving the offense.
There are different eras of their careers, too. I mean, there's about 9 years separating the two of them. Andrew's still one of the game's elite short field throwers, but Kevin becoming that all-around skilled, versatile threat. And a lot of people here in Madison thinks he doesn't get the credit, think that Kevin Brown could be one of the best young players in the world. I mean, in that top 10 conversation, if you're listing the finest.
Yeah, of his generation, he's at the top.
He was a captain, Kevin was, of the USA U23 team that won gold a year ago. Here's Danny Karlinski, was a captain of the USA national team that won gold in London this past June.
Wow, this pressure is really something.
How do you feel Seattle's handling it?
I mean, these guys aren't going to rattle, but they are like losing the energy battle right now.
Looking for the hammer over the top to Montague, and there was too much on the throw.
You know, a lot of people are missing deep shots to that end zone. I think the wind is a lot less consistent at that end of the field. On the other end, you're seeing more predictable reads and less disc tailing out of bounds.
We saw that in the first game between Dallas and Toronto as well. This is Logan Preuss picking up the disc, and a timeout was called seconds before his backhand launch.
Checks in the mail from Seattle.
Tim DeBile calls timeout from the Radicals sideline. The creator of Pro Ultimate here in Madison has his team ahead 5-2 in the opening quarter in the second semifinal here at Championship Weekend. And we'll stay right here and try to get inside the Radicals huddle. They got back-to-back breaks to go up 4-1 and looking for another break here to make it 6-2.
Maybe myself. Do downfield, do downfield. Cool, we got it, sweet. Let's do this.
When we said we were going to get inside the Radicals huddle, we were serious. Our cameraman, Ian Lunger, was basically, you know, they were cheering on Ian's head as he held the camera.
Risking life and limb. He's got a wife, everyone, but he's willing to put it on the line.
To get that soundbite for you.
Let's see who picks up the disc here. It's going to be Andrew Brown. He's got an interesting formation. 3 teammates align with him on that goal line.
What sport is this? I don't recognize this formation from Ultimate.
The whistle blows and Brown gets the reset to his brother Kevin. Dave Wiseman. Back to Annan. Breaking the around mark of Lynn. Andrew Brown, as Tim DeBile told me when I was first coming here to Madison to do a Radicals game a couple years ago, he said he's the best non-hucking thrower I've ever seen.
It's really true.
And Andrew Brown just doesn't huck it very often. He plays a conservative style.
Yeah, it's funny, and when he hucks it, it just doesn't, it's not satisfying. I don't know how to describe it, even if it works.
Ryan Hart willing to huck it, looking for Tom Annan. He went over Lynn, but he could not come up with a disc.
Looked like Tom got first touch there.
Oh, I think he did get first touch. I'm not quite
must
sure.
have missed it. He's not arguing.
He might have went through the back of Duncan Lynn to get first touch.
Could be true. What's a back, though?
We're still clarifying these types of things in the world of Ultimate at every level. Oh, and the throw just a little behind Rankin. An unforced error there. There's a scuba from Andrew Brown to Kevin Brown. Kevin broke his foot back in late June in a game against the Wildfire. Returned to competitive Ultimate at a club tournament in Colorado last week. Played not every game, they said. He was working his way back into it. It was kind of a warm-up tournament for him to get ready for Championship Weekend. Adam Drews to Wiseman. He's in.
Great toe the line from Dave Wiseman, always keeping his wits about him.
That was the longest point, took over 3 minutes. But Drews to Wiseman for the Radicals score.
And Wiseman needed that. You know, he needed to get on the board, kind of prove that he's, you know, that he's a superstar caliber player. His wife is quite a bit better than him, and so anytime he can get out there, toe the line, do something athletic, that's going to help him, I think, in his marriage.
His wife, Robin, the captain of the USA mixed team in London, that won gold. Unfortunately, Robin couldn't play because she suffered a terrible knee injury earlier this spring. She's recuperating from surgery right now. I'm sure Dave is the perfect husband when his wife is on the mend. Wiseman, a product of the University of Wisconsin. His college career began, mentioned this earlier in the season, on the Wisconsin C team.
Wow.
Good bid there from Mark Burke, another guy who has gradually grown into a star.
Yeah, they need a big game out of Mark.
Oh, there's a poach D, timing it perfectly. Tremendous effort there.
I'm so impressed with Madison right now. They're playing great.
That was Ben Nelson for the D. And the shot the other way, too far ahead of Coffin.
Hopefully you didn't just jinx it there, Chucktown.
Hey, I'm the Western analyst, so I'll jinx it all I can.
You know, I do have to say something about Madison. We don't often see them in a game of this caliber. So sometimes it's easy to forget how talented they are until we see them, you know, on a grandstand like this.
That's a good point. We talked about it during the regular season, Megan, as Graffy shoots it, didn't have enough float, and the Radicals miss an opportunity there to go up by 5. The Radicals during the season, they went undefeated for the first time ever. But some of the games that they played, they knew they were more so playing against themselves than they were there. And that's a tough mindset to have when you're so heavily favored against some other teams in the division.
It is. That puts a lot of pressure on the team to perform under pressure in such a narrow window of time. You're not really practicing that mental exercise.
Burton escapes the double team. Stewart through the contact, that went uncalled. Under 30 seconds in the opening quarter, Seattle could really use a score. Seattle's 2 goals came with 11:04 to go, and then with 6:31 to go. And Cascades strike with 15 seconds on the clock as Simon Montague hauls in the Seattle score late in the quarter.
Yeah, good job by Mark Burton there. It's you know, they had Peter Graffy guarding him, and Peter does not stay on his man. He's very effective anyway. But Mark Burton's not a guy you want to leave alone. I mean, he's one of the assist leaders in the entire league. So giving him that free under, he's going to burn you if you give him the free under.
Wrote about this dynamic, Chuck, in the Tuesday toss this week, getting commentary from adversaries of the Cascades during the season. They said the goal really should be to try to force Burton out, because if you give him the unders, he'll carve you up with his throws.
Yeah, he's dangerous. I mean, you don't want to concede the unders. And Graffy's not the guy who's going to just follow him in, follow him out. And for good reason, because Peter is a fantastic poach deep defender. He racks up the blocks. So I don't like that matchup.
Well, should he match up against him again, I think he'll probably narrow that cushion. Certainly not a bad idea defensively, but he's going to want to tighten his distance from him just a little bit.
Wiseman nearly got foot blocked by Bolton.
That was close.
Final 10 seconds of the quarter. Try-wise to Kevin Brown. He's got that throw, launches the flick. Carnegie lingering, Weber lingering, and it goes right off the hands of both of them.
Wow,
Scott Riggles was looming behind the play, but Carnegie and Weber both got a piece of it. Neither could come down with it. That's a win for Seattle.
That's big. Carnegie makes a big play. And you know, Tim DeBow, one thing he does, one of the reasons Madison's so effective is they win the end of the quarter, and that's set up exactly the way they wanted. A shot to their 2 biggest guys, and Carnegie comes through in a big way. This is not what you want to see if you're Seattle. Look at this.
They're outnumbered, too.
They're in trouble. Look at this play from Hussein. So sick.
I mean, if Carnegie doesn't make that play, it feels like Weber or Riggles are perhaps camped there to pick up the trash. Tim DeBio's team can't cap off the quarter with a goal, but still a pretty satisfying opening 12 minutes for the hometown team here in Madison. They've doubled up Seattle 6-3 after 1. We're back to Breese-Stevens Field in just a moment.
Early recognition is critical. Teaches middle school PE classes about ultimate Frisbee and cancer symptom awareness.
We're a registered nonprofit that advocates for an active, healthy lifestyle, body awareness, and speaking up if something is wrong.
Skills that, when it comes to cancer, can help save a life. Ultimate is a fast-paced team sport that's self-refereed, non-contact, and co-ed.
Spirit of the game is the foundation of Ultimate. That means we communicate respectfully, we're fair-minded, and we enjoy the game.
Ultimate is accessible to everyone. All you need is a Frisbee and some friends. Our team of coaches is made up of experienced and passionate leaders from the Ultimate community.
We can come to your middle school and run your PE classes for the day. And if we're not in your area yet, we'll send you our clinic in a box, where we give you the resources to run your own.
We are Eric!
And we want to work with you and your school.
It's an incredible spectacle for the sport of Ultimate here in Madison, Wisconsin tonight. A great, energetic, and passionate partisan crowd on hand as the Radicals lead the Cascades 6-3 after 1 quarter. And it was interesting. We talked early, the pace through 90 seconds. There were 3 scores in the first 90 seconds. Then there were only 6 goals through the next 10.5 minutes. And I think that strongly favors the Radicals.
Yeah, I do too. If they can keep Seattle moving slowly to help maintain their lead, and if they keep playing offense the way that they have been, very smooth, taking only appropriate shots, then they're going to maintain and widen their lead.
There's all sorts of action aside from the ultimate here at Championship Weekend. The Zorb ball competition, you see the zip line behind it.
And Peter Graffi in the foreground, absolutely not having any fun.
He's got his game face on. Seattle on offense to begin the second after the big Carnegie D at the end of the first. Karlinski, just narrowly threaded that through to Caldwell, who launches for Burton. And Mark Burton came back for it, then lost it. And this will be called. I believe Tom Coolidge would have given the foul if the referees did not make the play.
That was a bicycle kick, wasn't it?
It felt like it.
That was pretty cool.
Burton double teamed on the goal line. Resets for Montague. Over the top, wide open for the score.
I honestly would love to just see, pulls down the sideline by Madison and Simon Montague picking up against the double team. I would love to watch that like 10 times in a row.
Be a fun drill to watch is what you're saying.
It would, because he's got throws that you've never seen before waiting for that situation. That guy's so creative. His release points are really unorthodox.
If there's someone out there who has never seen Simon Montague throw before, how is he unique as a thrower?
Well, he really uses his height. He doesn't get stuck on pivoting out wide. Watch this catch by Mark Burton, and then the kick from Coolidge. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, he's just one of these guys. He does not care at all if you're right up in his grill, if you're using height. He can throw forehands from shoulder height, from above his head. He can throw upside downs, right side ups, whatever. And I don't know. I mean, when you see a guy straight up mark him, it's kind of a joke. It's like, why are you even there?
Scullion sets to Annan. Andrew Brown not on the field this point. Brian Hart, Kevin Brown, Pat Schreiwise, Dave Wiseman looking for the Schrei-Wiseman connection. What a gorgeous toss that was. Schreiwise to Wiseman, perfection.
And we're just talking about how hard it is to consistently throw to that end zone, and then just like everything else, Schreiwise comes out.
No, it's not.
Makes it look easy.
And that throw was perfectly timed. You saw him pump fake the forehand, letting Wiseman get just a little bit farther down the field, and then recognizing he did not have a mark on him, Schreiwise just wound up to unleash that.
Yeah, the whole crowd, when he pump faked that forehand, everybody went, what? No, throw it, throw it.
And if you were with us for the game earlier today, this throw to space is what Toronto could not execute.
It's true.
If the Toronto cutter had steps, they wouldn't lead them far enough to that end zone, and it ended up being a 50-50 disc, challenging the likes of Emmons and Kittredge, and that was not good news for the Rush.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, I saw a couple leading passes for Isaiah Masekele that were just not, I mean, they trailed out of bounds. Tough to see Toronto not play their best. They're so fun to watch when they're on.
And interestingly, I think Madison and Toronto are similar in that they've had years to work on their system. They're very disciplined, but it's interesting to see how that discipline did not pay off for Toronto, but is so far for Madison.
Love to see Rader get a little more involved here. I mean, he really is one of the top players on the field, and he's not one of those guys who's a loud personality who demands the disc, but he's certainly good enough to beat anybody one-on-one.
I'm sure he'd love to get more involved too, Chuck, but I feel like Madison is really slowing down the pace of the offense.
Mechanic got the D.
Wow, that wasn't even close. Deep shot goes up to Mechanic. Franklin trying to get it back.
Mechanic with the bookends. Oh, the Radicals strike so fast. Seattle has to be wondering what has hit them. Here's the D. And And it may have been Frood who got there even before Mechanix did. So Frood, perhaps the D and the assist. Mechanix, the secondary D and the score, using his body to shield off the angle nicely.
Yeah, you noticed a few strides before he caught that disc, he looked back to check and see where Rankin was to make sure that he maintained position on that disc. He did not want to offer up a sacrificial disc like he had taken earlier.
Yeah, he's a guy, for how young he is, Andrew Mechanix, he plays pretty intelligently. Like, he has size, and we've seen guys, I remember talking to AJ Nelson a few years ago, where he's so athletic, he just wants to go up and roof people. And he's made that adjustment of saying, you know what, I got big shoulders, I should use him. And Mechanix does that already.
Karlinski launching. Matt Rader, who's been quiet so far, has arrived. And he makes it look easy against KPS.
Yeah, we talked to KPS on the couch earlier. He was excited for this matchup. Not an easy one.
Is KPS an articulate interview?
He is a sweetie pie. We like KPS.
Speaking of sweetie pies, Matt Rader.
Yeah. He is a soft-spoken, gentle murderer. Look at this guy go deep. I mean, he's what is he, like 2 inches taller than KPS? Could jump over his head, and he can sprint. I mean, this guy, if he were flashy, if he had the personality to be a flashy kind of superstar type guy, there's no reason he couldn't be at the top of anybody's draft.
It's funny, Danny Karlinski in the playoffs in LA really didn't have to do a ton. It was a lot of the guys in the D-line that took over, Simon Montague, Nick Stewart, Zane Rankin, Mark Burton, etc. Karlinski just kind of took it easy. I asked him if he threw it more than 20 yards. He said he threw a couple big swings. But for the most part, I mean, that's the longest throw he's thrown in the playoffs with a stall count rising. Rader, a perfect safety valve.
That's well said. He really hasn't had to.
Drews hits the under to Wiseman, who winds up looking for Kevin Brown. He's got it. The Radicals are clicking.
Yeah, the gap widens a bit here. And, Donnie Clark's a guy that we didn't really see anybody outrunning him in the Western Division playoffs. But we're seeing it today. We saw Shrywise pull away from him, and on that point we saw Kevin Brown just lay some tread.
Wiseman, on the other hand, has certainly been a guy capable of throwing deep for a long time. A couple of years ago, his numbers were off the charts. His numbers the last couple of years haven't been as strong. And one of the things Tim DeBios wanted to do is get him more involved on those scoring plays. Matt Weber is on the field. A year ago, it kind of meant that the Radicals were going to go zone, but this time they're going to go with the two-person mark.
Double teaming Simon Montague, my favorite game.
This is basically a man-to-man defense here, though. Frood chasing Stewart. And a fun opportunity for a young guy like Jay Frood. Nick Stewart is yelling at the cutters, telling them they're too deep. Although Rankin was able to get the 20-yard under because of the depth of the origination of the cut. And Caldwell gets bumped by Weber. It's funny that this Radicals defense and the chemistry that the Radicals have built up. Right there you see Mechanix and Weber putting a double team on the sideline, impromptu. And it's sort of that unspoken communication where these guys feel that comfortable playing with each other.
Look at the nightmare that MC finds himself in now.
Has to throw it with some loft. It's caught by Burton. Burton goes over the top as well, and a couple hammers lead to a Seattle score. Nick Stewart with his first goal of the game.
Yeah, I think that's big. I mean, you pointed it out, Evan, that Nick Stewart in the middle of that point just started screaming at MC and the other cutters saying, you're too deep. He's saying, I like my matchup. That's what that means. I like my matchup. Get out of the lane. He wants a piece, and they need him.
Well, we talked in the West Division playoffs, Chuck, about that chemistry versus talent discussion, and Stewart has not been able to gain a lot of reps with these particular teammates. It was still no problem out west, but eventually you know, that kind of rises to the surface. Doesn't mean they can't overcome it, but it's something to factor in.
Yeah, it's true. He's played with some of these guys a lot, some of them not so much. But, I mean, you kind of saw his game face come out on that point. And, I mean, when I said towards the beginning of this game that they could outplay Madison, he's the guy that comes to mind. If he's really on, good luck.
Colin Camp chased by Ben Snell. Hart back to Brown to Schreiwatz. There's just a calmness in their offensive flow right now. The Radicals on display. Wiseman takes another shot. Brian Hart in pursuit. Got it.
You saw the look on Brian Hart's face. Do I need to lay out for this disc? But it was so perfectly put that as he approached, he realized, nope, it's right in the breadbasket.
And this is why Tim DeBio wants Dave Wiseman to take more shots.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. The Iceman, Dave Wiseman, dialing it in, making, I mean, these are high percentage hucks.
Maybe he heard you trashing him compared to his wife, and he's trying to get a leg up on Robin.
Dave, come on, man.
Very sensitive, that Dave Wiseman.
Always overreacting. Look at this guy. Relax, huh? We're having fun.
Grew up in Madison. A few years ago, he had 30 goals, 30 assists, and 30 Ds in the same season.
Wow.
Back when he did that, it was just Mechanix and Kittredge that had also achieved that feat, along with Wiseman.
Well, that was an 82-game season, though, right?
Not exactly. Rankin takes a shot. Rader with KPS chasing. Got it. Rader celebrates the Seattle score.
And here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Nick Stewart and Matt Rader. These are two guys that basically, if you're even, you're losing. You can't play these guys even. KPS wants to play him even. I don't blame him. I'm an idiot, too. I would try to play him even. But Matt Rader's got, I mean, he could get quite a bit higher than he just did. And you can tell he didn't like the little bump at the end here. Little contact. Little sulky Matt Rader, we'll take it. We like it.
You know, I've talked about this on other broadcasts, and we could have talked about it right off the top today when Sefton backpacked Colin Camp after the catch. That, in my opinion, needs to be a foul. Maybe Seattle gets to pull from 10 yards further up. That may be too simple or too, I don't know what the foul needs to be, but there was clearly contact there, and there should be a result of that contact.
You know what would be a fun throwback to the club rules is they would just have to stand and talk for like 2 minutes, just for 2 minutes.
By fun, you mean excruciating.
Excruciating. It'd be an ego killer, though, for BJ.
I mean, there's been a lot of conversation in the Ultimate community about good bids, bad bids, malicious bids versus not necessarily ill-meaning bids that still turn out the wrong way that need to be punished in a game that is still largely governed by spirit of the game and self-officiation. Of course, the referees in the AUDL can be overturned by the integrity rule.
Crowd wanted that hammer.
And this Madison offense hasn't really come close to being broken yet. Playing as crisp as you could ever hope you would want to play in a big game. Of course, there's a long way to go. Midway through the second quarter. Radicals are up 6-3 at the end of one. If you missed it earlier, Dallas beat Toronto 27-20.
Wow.
And there's Colin Camp.
What a point!
You like that, Megan?
What a put! That was beautiful. Put just on the appropriate side of the stack.
It's funny seeing their different styles, right? Because Andrew Brown might hit that same throw. I'm not sure he would. But doing it kind of that Exton Titcomb, falling backwards, weird release point, but still very accurate. You know, I mean, look at this throw.
So you're saying Kevin Brown was not emulating his brother, but rather the owner of the Seattle Cascades.
Yeah, if anybody's played with Exton Titcomb, holy smokes. We had a zone, he played at UChicago, played at Northwestern. We had a zone called Force Exton, where whatever, if he was on the right side of the field, force right. If he was on the left side of the field, force left. Because he would try the craziest stuff.
How'd that work for you?
We won all those games.
Did you?
It wasn't because Exton was not performing.
No, it was a lot of fun. He actually skied me once.
If only we knew you were a strategic juggernaut. We could have had you as a coach in the AUDL Fantasy Challenge instead of being a referee, in which I think we all agree it was an abysmal performance.
Incredibly well done. Thank you for that. Appreciate that compliment.
Last night it was a tremendously fun event. Montague looking for Stewart. They've done this before.
Did you see that gear that he just shifted into? That was a tight throw. Oh, I don't know. That doesn't look like a good throw. The defender's right on him, and then all of a sudden, Nick Stewart awakens alone in a meadow catching a Frisbee.
It looks like this is the duo that is going to make or break Seattle. If they continue to operate the way they have been, they can close this gap.
Did they overlap at Carleton?
Oh, yeah.
They did, right? Yeah. These guys have been causing problems for years.
They had an adversarial relationship at Carleton. They would often go against each other in scrimmages, and it would get a little ugly, as it might do with competitors. Interestingly, we got 5:50 to go in the second quarter, guys. There have already been more scores in the second quarter than we saw in the first. We're 5-5 in the second after there were only 9 goals in the opening 12 minutes.
Yeah, one thing that we learned about Seattle in the Western playoffs is that they've got legs. They don't really tire out. I mean, the heat was unbelievable in LA, and I didn't see them slow down.
Playing from ahead, they always had great confidence. Got off to great starts in both their divisional win over LA and then the championship game in the West against the San Francisco FlameThrowers, the top seed. Throw a little bit behind Adam Drews, but he made the adjustment.
The pressure's turning up on the man defense right now from Seattle.
Jaden Scullion over the top. Tom Annan.
Jaden Scullion has been doing that since 1991 or something. I'm pretty sure he's older than MC, right?
No,
this guy out there?
No, you're right.
Worlds were in Madison when Scullion was just a kid in the 90s, and he went and watched and said, I have to start playing this game. And 20 years later, Jaden Scullion is still competing. There was a discussion this week of whether Scullion would make the active roster. He was right on the cusp. Seems to be a good choice.
Yeah, and I watched him run out before the game when they called his number. He doesn't run like an old guy. He runs like a spry young guy who's excited to get out there and play some Frisbee. I haven't run like that since never.
Yeah, you and me run like old guys, and we've got a few years younger than Scullion.
It's a true story. He's pretty inspirational guy, and actually he's good at macking. We were doing a mac line yesterday. I like the soft touch, Jaden.
Went to Northern Arizona as the Cascades find Raider deep. That was too easy.
Are we watching? Are we seeing this? Look at how much faster he is. Nick Stewart and Matt Raider, these are a different caliber of athlete. That doesn't mean they're going to win, but that means if you put them in a foot race one-on-one, it's over.
So you like the decision to send it to Raider deep?
Anytime he's even, that disc goes up. It's Bo Kittredge time, okay? When he's even, the disc goes up.
Raider with a little saucy attitude, and you can see Montague making the contact, the good balance on the throw. What a shot this is, watching that disc hover into the grasp of Raider.
He started even with KPS. Now look where KPS is. I mean, it's just nuts.
Just imagine where you would have been.
Yeah. We need a wider angle for that discussion. But yeah, Matt Raider, here's your guys. These are your guys.
What's the key to these two guys playing together and complementing each other and not getting in each other's way?
Well, I think there's a lot of space that, you know, they need the vertical space open. Otherwise, the defenders don't need to respect the deep cuts. And we know Madison's looking to do some switching and help off the backside, so they need that deep space open. If it's open, those two guys can just chew you up.
Annan was bumped by Lynn, then threw a little forearm at the defender, And then launches to Hart, trailing defender Sefton coming by, but Hart rises up between the two white jerseys. Brian Hart for the Radicals.
This is a game.
Playmaking both ways, both sides, both very impressive.
Tom Anna did not like the bump and said, you know what, I got something for you. Brian Hart, man. I mean, just like when I first saw Brian Hart and I asked people, how good is this guy? They're like, oh, he's really good. And you just look at him and you're like, I don't know, he's a dental student. He's 5'9", it's whatever. But man, when the disc is up, he comes down with it. That's just how it is.
I hear you and Brian live pretty close to each other in Milwaukee.
Yeah, if he jams a broom handle up into the ceiling, pretty much he can wake me up.
Brian Hart getting ready to join his family dental agency. His father's a dentist. Brian at dental school in Milwaukee at Marquette. Obviously had a great career, was a Callahan nominee for the University of Wisconsin Hodags back in 2013. Oh, Burton is all alone going deep. No angle for Karlinski to get the throw off.
Gotta be a foul.
You think so?
Oh,
a drop. Mario O'Brien, Butterfingers, Bruce quickly counters. Two Radicals rookies combined for the score. Logan Bruce, Abe Coffin, Tim DeVile psyched at the Madison Radicals break.
Yeah, I don't think Rio was ready for that throw. Somehow the dump cut was a little out of sync. You know, he's moving one way, the throw's going the other. Nice job by Coffin to just get in there, break it up, and get open.
Now you could give Coffin credit for that, so O'Brien didn't have the second effort.
100%. And as soon as he gets the block, he puts Mario O'Brien on an island.
Megan, you and I were here for Logan Bruce's AUDL debut, a game back in May against the Chicago Wildfire, and you know, oftentimes there's some growing pains for a young player adjusting to the AUDL rule set. Not the case for Bruce. He was dominant that night.
Absolutely not the case with Bruce. And you think for someone to be able to join this Radical team when they have just a couple of slots open, you have to be a pretty special player. And he has fallen in sync with the Radicals beautifully.
They had 4 rookies this year, but only Coffin and Bruce are active here in the semifinals.
Wow, Graffy baiting the deep throw to Mark Burton. I mean, he was giving him 10 yards.
Low throw scooped up by Rankin. Now he's looking for Raider.
Hey-oh.
Doesn't want to overthrow him, but that's tough to do. And Raider rises up.
I mean, it's like we said, when he's even, throw. And he's one of those guys, too. He's so calm, so low-key. You know, only uses the energy he needs there. He could have gone up earlier. He could have gone up higher.
How tough a throw is this for St. Rankin?
I don't think it's tough.
No?
No, I think he's a pretty high-level thrower. He's also, there's something about his mechanics. They're very steady. You know, like they're very accurate. He's able to throw, you know, a little off balance, but he really isolates that wrist motion. You see when he flicks it, there's not a lot of arm. It's very, very pure.
How about the little stare there from Raider at Jay Fruit after the play?
Yeah.
He is fired up. Raider is absolutely fired up. I like that matchup, though, Fruit versus Raider. I hope we see that later. Fruit is a pretty sick defender for Madison. I think he might be able to take one away from Raider.
He could. If the throw's not perfect, you better believe Fruit's going to get horizontal and get it.
Drews back to Kevin Brown. Big flick. Looking for Camp. Ben Snell, the defender. Incomplete. And Snell is calling a foul on himself. Or is there an injury? That might just be an injury, we'll see.
Oh, wow.
Referees have not made the integrity signal yet. So it appears Camp shaken up. Looked like a pretty clean play watching it live.
Yeah, he might have slapped his hand, but I don't think Colin had his hand on the disc. So yeah, it looks like a no call, but maybe hit his thumb. I don't know what happened there.
So Duncan Lynn will pick up. Now another guy the Cascades missing in this scenario, Kieran Kelly, played really well in the playoff games. Spent a lot of time in the Midwest, a Cincinnati product, not here at championship weekend. Timeout call by Seattle as we check out this last play. Oh, that's a great D by Snell.
Yeah, clean. I did not see what happened.
Neither did I.
Might have been he might have already had an injury, you know, maybe he sprained his wrist and then something like that. Yeah. Hopefully he's okay. We definitely want to see him back in. And actually, I like that throw. I mean, it's not a high percentage throw, but I mean, we've seen Colin Camp just do some work in the air. Nice D there from Snell. I mean, basically, when that throw goes up, they're saying, Snell, we don't think you can get it. That's what you're saying with that throw.
He's a college champion with the University of North Carolina a couple years ago. About 3 minutes until halftime. Chucktown will head down for a couple halftime conversations, and then Taylor Pope getting ready for our halftime game day show on our really nice set that was created. The VIP area, we got some nice flowers and plants. You got the AUDL trophy on display. Taylor Pope sporting a fresh new suit.
Looking good. Got a deal on that. Changed the price tag at Men's Warehouse apparently, and they bought it.
Sounds like you've done that before.
I don't know what you mean.
Raider lefty backhands it away from the double team to O'Brien, who grew up in Wisconsin. And there's a big flick. Karlinski looking for Rankin. Riggles got there first. And Frood makes sure there's no second chance.
I like Zane Rankin, but are you kidding? You're going to throw that over Riggles? He's 6'7", and he's a sprinter.
Maybe they didn't know about the sprinting part, and kudos to Jay Frood for recognizing the potential that play had there to clean up the garbage.
It's a good point.
Timeout called from the Radicals sideline, their final timeout of the half, as the Radicals didn't have anything working on the restart of the possession. We'll take it to just a couple of minutes to play in the first half. The Radicals at home leading the Cascades by 4.
Travelers have always come to Motel 6 for great service and the lowest price of any national chain. Now we're renovating nationwide with a fresh modern look, so you'll see us in a whole new light. I'm Tom Bodette from Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Just a great crowd on hand here at Breese Stevens Field. 2016 championship weekend. This is year 5 of the AUDL. And when this adventure began back in 2012, this is probably what the founders had in mind. Some of the best players in the world, a great crowd, a tremendous facility, incredible charity work being done in conjunction with the event. Brian Jones working through the traffic, getting ready for the halftime show. What was the energy like down there in the beer garden in the stands when you guys were watching the first game today?
I actually spent some time on the sideline, which I've never done before, and that was really interesting. It was fun to be so close to the emotions of both teams, and you know, you really got a sense of how determined and yet frustrated Toronto was, and you really got a sense of how much fun and how energized and pumped up Dallas was.
So remember, this is a Madison offensive point. There have been 2 timeouts called on this point, 1 by each team. Madison out of timeouts in the quarter. Seattle does have 1 left.
Will Chen forced Tom Annan downfield, making Brian Hart become a handler.
Wiseman thought about the deep shot to Riggles. The fans would have enjoyed it. Riggles now coming under, and he gets the disc, being chased by Matt Russell, who played really well, like all the Cascades did, the Western Washington product in the playoffs in LA.
And Strywise really wants it deep on Donnie Clark.
Wiseman looking for a couple targets. Annan, Riggles in the area. Lots of Seattle jerseys, and it's Will Chen that takes it, and Seattle's interception marred by an injury. Scott Riggles
holding that left ankle. Not sure, I didn't see him land, but he might have rolled his left ankle.
Or he might have stepped on. That was quite the pileup.
Right.
That throw from Wiseman, perhaps a little bit of a regression to the mean throwing into this crowd. You see Riggles down low. Yeah, that left ankle got tied up with Donnie Clark, it appeared. Nothing malicious, but Riggles walking off the field on his own power. We'll see whether he can come back. Clock stop, $1:26 to go in the half. Important sequence here for Seattle. This would be a break, and more importantly, it would be Seattle's first break.
Yeah, they could sure use it.
Raider on the under. Marked by Graffy to Chen to Clark. Oh yeah, it's Sefton wide open in the middle of the field. Couldn't find him. To Snell.
So lots of poaches off the far side for Madison, really jamming up the downfield space.
Sefton to Raider. Oh, and he tried to throw it through the mark of Camp. Colin alertly had his hands in the air and rejected the crossfield toss.
I've never seen anything like that.
No.
Looking to Wiseman again. The big fella in the end zone for the Radicals. Why not? Madison back up by 5. What a half Dave Wiseman has had. 3 goals, 3 assists. And how about that D from Colin Camp?
Absolutely great heads-up awareness from him, keeping his arms where he thought the biggest threat was initially. And then Madison absolutely capitalized that point. 2 throws later, you have Wiseman in the end zone for an easy score. Ridiculous.
Joe Sefton, very strong defender. But Wiseman had the size, used his body well.
No doubt feeling good for that errant throw he put up earlier. If he can't get the assist, he might as well get the goal.
Final 30 seconds of the opening half. Caldwell and Burton nearly colliding with one another. Stewart all alone. Leads O'Brien well. Looking cross field. Burton could not come down with it. Logan Pruce close by. No timeouts for the Radicals. Pruce gets the swing to Coffin. Graffy's got 5 seconds. Graffy lets it fly. And it's stolen away by Stewart. And that will close out the first half here at Breese Stevens Field. Radicals have to be feeling pretty darn good in front of their home fans. They're halfway to clinching a spot in Sunday's title game. Madison looking for its 32nd consecutive win in this building. Dave Wiseman, a superstar in the first half for the Radicals. 3 goals, 3 assists, and a conversation with Chuck Kindred.
That's fun. All right, I'm down here with Dave Wiseman. Dave, don't check your Twitter, because I was talking a little bit about your wife and who might be better than you at Ultimate. But maybe we can just settle right now. Who's better at Ultimate, you or your wife?
I mean, she is, obviously.
That's the right answer, right? That's the right answer. Tell me about the first half. You guys came out with a lot of energy, you know, home crowd. And this is a tough team. I mean, this team ran through the Western Division easily in the playoffs. What was the key for you guys getting out ahead?
Starting with a lot of energy. I mean, you saw when we came out. I mean, it really helped that we have a fan here that just infuses more energy on top of the desire that our team has to win.
Yes, it seems like a different look. I've covered you guys in the years past, and you're always very steady. You don't get rattled, and you also don't let teams come back. This feels more flashy. It's a lot of man D. It's a lot of, you know, matchup kind of winning matchups. Is there a different strategy you're employing in this game than you normally do?
I mean, over the course of years, we've started to transition more into applying more pressure on person defense. Like, we've had a zone, we've refined it, we use it when we need it, and then now we've just built on our ability to play shutdown man defense, and we're seeing the pressure here.
How good does it feel to play in Breese Stevens? Like, what's, you know, you played last year, you're in San Jose, awesome stadium, but not home turf. Yep. You know, what's the difference for you being at home?
It's just really something special to be able to play in front of your friends and family I mean, the fans are amazing. So getting to do the thing that we love with the people that we love around us and supporting us is just a really amazing feeling. And I feel really lucky. I think a lot of us do.
Yeah, and you're a guy who, you know, like you're a guy out here after the game throwing with kids, like doing clinics and doing a lot of stuff with the community. You know, how important is it for you to be a part of the community, be teaching the sport, you know, also be playing the program? Like, what's your philosophy about Ultimate in the community?
I mean, they go hand in hand. Like, you can't have Ultimate without a community to support you. I mean, you could, but it just wouldn't be as fun. And so to get all these kids out here, get the families out here, and then start to pass on the passion that we have for the game to this next generation is a really just cool feeling.
Yeah, it shows. I mean, this crowd loves you guys. So going to the second half, you know, you got to close out to advance. What do you think you guys have to do to beat Seattle in the second half?
A lot of the same. Continue to execute on our plan. And right now our plan is for our O just to keep doing what we're doing, play the way we know that we're able to. And then the defense, just continue to ramp up the pressure, just feed off of the energy that's in here and continue to drive like just with all this energy. These guys only have, what, 16, 18 dudes? All incredibly talented players, but sometimes it can really help just to elevate your play to the next level when you have the type of energy that we do right now.
Yeah, well, it's been a lot of fun to watch, man. Good luck in the second half, and hopefully we'll see you after the game. All right, thanks. Back to you, Evan.
Chuck, Dave, thanks so much. He's got a lot of family and friends, as you see in the crowd. The Radicals up by 5 at the half. We'll take a quick timeout, and we will come back and send it to our halftime set, where Brian Jones, Taylor Pope, and special guest, Ulti-World editor Charlie Eisenhood joining the set as the Radicals lead the Cascades 15-10 at the half here in Madison. We go to our game day crew down on the field level when we come back.
(15-10) over Seattle. A great crowd here tonight. We got some special guests with us. I'm Brian Jones here with Charlie Eisenhood, editor-in-chief of Ulti-World, the premier news site of Ultimate. We have Ben Yacht from Minnesota Wind Chill and college champion from Minnesota Grey Duck. And, of course, we're joined by Taylor Pope. Been a great game so far, pretty intense, a great environment here. And before the game, Taylor and I had Seattle winning. Ben, you were a little reluctant to make a pick, but Charlie, you seemed like you saw this coming all the way.
Well, first of all, the game's not over yet. You know, we've got a lot of game left. But I do think that I liked Madison, both because of the home environment, but also because they've shown cohesion in a way that really haven't seen from Seattle this season. And Seattle came into this game a little bit hot, for sure, coming out of the West playoffs, looking really sharp. But Madison, we knew, was going to game plan very effectively. They've done that. They've played close against top competition year after year. Remember, they barely lost to San Jose last year in the championships.
That's right. Madison's been a tough team, undefeated so far. Ben, you've gotten a chance to play in this environment. Do you think it's part of the advantage that Madison has here tonight?
Definitely. When you're playing in front of a big crowd, you want to make the plays. So this you wouldn't normally bid for. You're going to go for those. And just to hear the crowd cheer is so invigorating. Even if you miss it, you're amped to get back on defense.
You had an environment like that in the college semifinals where you had everybody up late. That was a great game. Minnesota versus Pittsburgh. I don't think any of us will forget it. Taylor, me and you right now, we're down in the dumps. We thought Seattle would take this game over. What's happened?
Well, yeah, we look foolish, to be honest. I think Madison is playing a very sharp game. You know, they fooled me once last year. I thought that the Raleigh Flyers would beat them in this same game. Fool me twice. Shame on me again. They are so smooth right now against the Seattle team that is applying pressure, but you know, Madison is coming up with the grabs in traffic every time and making it look so easy. It's very impressive, very impressive.
So far, it's been a 5-point lead for any of you. What does Seattle have to do in the second half to get back in the game?
Well, I think what you really see is a problem with their defense. I mean, their offense may have started a little bit slow and gave up some early breaks, but ultimately what we're really seeing is that the problem for them is that they haven't been able to get anything going on D. They had the 1 point late here in the second quarter where they started to maybe have a couple chances, but Wriggles comes up with the big D. They can't get the break. They didn't end up getting a break at all in the first half. They're going to have to find a way to apply more consistent pressure, maybe by switching it up completely defensively.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think a big difference in this game versus the last game is the players are choosing to angle the disc higher and coming in with more blade and really meeting the receiver in stride, as opposed to last game where we were seeing a lot flatter throws out to space, floating in the air, making it easy for the defender to have a play on it. I think both teams are demonstrating that that is the throw that they need to be doing right now, and the person who executes that best in the second half is going to win this game.
Ben, you've had a chance to play in the stadium. Does the wind play a factor? We saw it. We thought we played a factor, swirling at different points in the end zones at different ends of the stadium. How do you prepare for a win like this?
It's really unique because it's such a strange stadium and the wind can be really swirly. But I think it's calmed down enough where and we're in the second half of the game where both teams are really focusing in and they're used to the wind now. I think Seattle just has to buckle down like they did in the second quarter and start executing, not playing so fast and loose with the disc, and then get some of those breaks that Charlie was talking about.
And Charlie, you've been in a unique position here. You've covered the AUDL since near its inception. How do you feel about this championship weekend? Is this the best crowd? Is this the best environment so far?
Well, I think you have to say yes, for sure. You know, this is my first time going to a championship weekend, so you know, to see this is pretty remarkable. I've never been at a game really like this. I mean, you could compare this maybe to the World Championships, but that was mostly players in attendance, whereas here you have true fans of Madison. And I think that, you know, that combined with just an environment of excitement about the game and the weekend is really unprecedented so far for the AUDL.
I would just like to add that this venue has a certain charm to it. It was you know, I think it was on the ropes for a little while before the Radicals came in and really made some big changes and have made the stadium a staple to this city. Has a really kind of unique underground network of locker rooms and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it was made in 1910 and then around that decade, and so an old stadium, but it's suiting its needs pretty well. Was once a baseball stadium and rescued here, and it's a great spot here in Madison. Just down the street, you can see the Capitol Spire. It's a pretty great place. A lot of restaurants so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat being able to walk from your downtown hotel to the plaza to the stadium. I mean, I don't think there are very many other stadiums in the AUDL that match that. And, you know, to have a place that's so central and also really suitable for Ultimate. You know, this is not a 20,000 seat stadium, but Ultimate's not there yet. And so this fits really well with what they have here in Madison.
I think it's great for the home team environment. You have vendors all around here. You can get your cheese curds. You can get whatever you want. You know, there's plenty of beer to go around. Yeah. I think Taylor owes me a few beers after the first game.
I lost the first bet. I thought it would be a little closer.
Yeah, and so far, though, we and you, though, we're not in a good position here for the second half.
We're not predicting,
so, what's your predictions here for the second half of this game?
Well, I think Seattle's going to make a push a little bit the way that Toronto made a push coming out in the first semifinal. But I also think that Madison has just looked like the team that's in better form right now. I mean, if you look at just the way the teams are playing, Madison is just too sharp, and I think that they're going to hold on and win. Might be close, but I think they're going to win.
I don't have a strong prediction. I think if Madison keeps playing the way they are, this game is over, and they could pull away even more. The fans are having a huge impact on this game. Every catch is this huge buildup and crescendo. It's awesome to see. I think that the players are channeling that hometown feel. I don't think Madison's going to be stopped.
Yeah, we're going to take a look here actually on our screen. The first half highlights. It's been an intense first half. The crowd really got into it right from the start. And it's just been great to see. Madison came out firing. And just right away, they got out to a big lead. Seattle making mistakes right and left.
Beautiful toe the line there.
Who's been your MVP so far in this game?
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, you've seen some great plays from Dave Wiseman. Colin Camp has played very well. You know, he subbed out on the injury and then came back in and made that incredible defensive play, the hand block, I think it was, to get the disc back for them, and they eventually scored.
And Dave Wiseman, he's just one of the tallest players out in the field. Taylor, you've had that experience of being one of the tallest players out in the field. We see a lot of the big plays from him. Matt Rader has been fierce throughout this game, but really Madison has just come away with it.
What's great about Madison is that you can tell that every player is playing a heads-up style of defense. That means that they are looking at the Frisbee, they are all ball hawking the Frisbee, and that allows you to watch where the switches are so much easier than when you just lock in on your guy. And Madison is exemplifying the fact that everyone is on the same page, communicating by where they're moving to different spaces on D, and making Seattle have to throw very difficult, lower risk throws than normal, and that's the difference that we have right now.
If I can just piggyback off of that, I've seen more stall outs this weekend than I have in my whole career playing AUDL. So it's really something, it speaks to the defensive pressure that is a very big step up from a lot of other Ultimate that you play. You're not used to getting stalled out, and it happens a lot here.
And I don't want to look too far ahead, but if we do end up with a Madison versus Dallas final tomorrow, it's going to be interesting to see how does Dallas handle the defense from Madison, because Madison's man defense really clearly much tougher than what they saw from Toronto this afternoon. And I think that could be interesting because it's not like Dallas was perfect. I mean, I think if you have to pick a team that has looked overall like the sharper, more informed team, it's been Madison.
Definitely.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, it seems like they're just so in sync in trying to double team at very specific times. And you almost see them trying to progress down the field, double teaming, and then the downfield cutters adjusting under with some sort of shell. I think that Madison D is really on point right now. And, you know, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Seattle to be able to keep up with that in the second half.
And they brought a slim roster here. It's tough to go up against Madison. And to your point, Charlie, you talked about slowing down Dallas. We saw Toronto employ a similar-looking zone. We've seen a lot of teams kind of steal that from Madison over the years. It might be the secret thing to slow them down. We haven't seen quite the same chemistry. But Dallas's talent is just incredible.
Yeah, it's undeniable. I mean, they're going to be a favorite regardless of who they face tomorrow. And I think the question is going to be, I talked to Kurt Gibson after the game today, and I asked him point blank, are you going to win tomorrow? And he said yes without hesitation, which if you know Kurt, that's reasonable. You expect that. But he also went on to say, if our D-line plays like it did today, there is not a team in the league that can beat us. And that may be true. You know, you see Dan Emmons out there just heroing, 3-4 blocks, and I mean, he's one of many. So I think it's going to be a great game regardless. But I think that if Madison goes through, I think they have a fighting chance.
Yeah, they're going to have the home field advantage. It's going to be great. So it's been a long season, been a lot of great moments, a lot of great games. Any moments during the regular season leading up to this stand out for you guys?
What do you think, Ben? You've been on the road for some games.
Yeah, the ones that stick out to me is losing to Pittsburgh, but that's not very television worthy.
we've seen a lot of double overtime games. New York, DC got to call that one, and DC almost coming up back against Toronto would have been a different Final Four. But we have some great games here tonight. But we're going to close this halftime out. Thank you, Charlie, for joining us. Ben Yacht as well. and Taylor Pope. I'm Brian Jones. This is the end of our halftime show here in the second semifinal. Madison leads Seattle 15-10. We'll be back with Evan in the booth in just a few minutes.
Early recognition is critical. Teaches middle school PE classes about ultimate Frisbee and cancer symptom awareness.
We're a registered nonprofit that advocates for an active, healthy lifestyle, body awareness, and speaking up if something is wrong.
Skills that when it comes to cancer can help save a life. Ultimate is a fast-paced team sport that's self-refereed, non-contact, and co-ed.
Spirit of the game is the foundation of Ultimate. That means we communicate respectfully, we're fair-minded, and we enjoy the game.
Ultimate is accessible to everyone. All you need is a Frisbee and some friends. Our team of coaches is made up of experienced and passionate leaders from the Ultimate community.
We can come to your middle school and run your PE classes for the day. And if we're not in your area yet, we'll send you our clinic in a box, where we give you the resources to run your own.
We are Eric!
And we want to work with you and your school.
Welcome back to Breese-Stevens Field, everybody. A tremendous crowd on hand as the Radicals lead 15-10, just about ready to start the third quarter of action. And we welcome you back into our broadcast booth with Megan Tormey and Chuck Kindred. I am Evan Lepler. We heard some interesting insight from Charlie, Ben, Taylor, and of course Brian. Seattle has a big mountain to climb, Chuck, but they've got the weapons to do it.
Well, and they are called the Cascades, so they're capable of climbing some mountains, I would think. But yeah, it is hard to come from behind at Breese-Stevens against Madison. They tend to slow things down. I mean, we haven't seen the big zone, you know, offensive suck machine that they produce, where it's just like you can't score and you can't string them together and you can't break through. We haven't seen that, so maybe there's more space than normal, but still, with this crowd and the energy they're pulling off of this crowd, it's just going to be tough.
Madison hasn't needed that zone. Their man-to-man defense has been so effective.
Right, which is something that they worked on this season. They wanted to get better at man defense, and they have become amazing at man defense. And I think they're keeping their zone in their back pocket. They also have a few derivations of that zone. So if necessary, they can throw the two-person trap against the sideline. They can throw their 4-2-1. They have a lot of different options that they haven't had to use yet, but they can if Seattle starts changing things up.
And the real question is, what is Seattle going to change up about its defensive effort to try to slow down the Madison offense?
Yeah, I think Seattle's really capable of playing just better defense, much higher energy defense than this. They didn't look loose, they look tight, and this is a team that doesn't play well tight. They have to be having fun. They have to be kind of silly. You know, you got to just let these guys run and play and have a good time. And if they do that, there's no reason they can't string together some points and get some breaks.
Yeah, I think that Madison has had a very easy time with the handler reset. So if they are able to stop the handler reset, then they might be able to slow down the Madison offense.
Duncan Lynn, just like he did at the start of the game, gets us started in the second half with a big pull. This Madison offense was not broken a single time in the opening half. There's a little change of pace. Russell slides in for the double team, but Andrew Brown gets it to Brian Hart. Here's Adam Drews. Madison certainly very willing to be patient. Just look across the way, the fans standing on the front railing. Every seat from end zone to end zone is full. And all around the sidelines, fans are circling the field to create a real 360-degree atmosphere. Just across midfield, about 50 seconds into the possession. Now on the verge of the red zone, Drews marked by Chen. Oh, nice crafty. A lefty barbecue backhand.
Not too bad.
Annan to the end zone. Radicals strike. If their offense is going to be that smooth, they're not going to lose.
You can say that again, man. There was nothing to look at. I mean, as a defender, you're mostly in the right spot there. They could have been a little tighter, but yeah, what can you really say about that? It was spectacularly good.
And they were so patient the entire time. And I really think that there was a throw to Shrywise, from Shrywise to Drews, that highlighted how much cohesion there is on this team. It was just a quick no-look pass, and he was ready for it. And so they really didn't need to work too hard. They just kept looking for the short open throws, taking them until Drews was able to cut across the end zone. Notice he didn't have anyone clogging his lane for that score.
When Tim DeBile bought the Madison Radicals, his first phone call was to Tom Annan. Annan was the first player he signed, the first player he offered a contract to. Annan, a leader in the Madison Ultimate community, and his presence and buy-in really helped set the tone from the very start of Madison Radical Ultimate. Careless turnover from Seattle. Madison's defense trying to stretch the lead to 7. Graffy looking for Riggles. Stewart nearby. Riggles had it but could not hold on.
That is a Major League D from Nick Stewart.
Major League matchup too.
It was. I would love to see that 10 more times.
Stewart looking long. It's Montague reading it, stumbling down. Yikes, Caldwell forced to slide. Marked by Graffy. Oh, that's gotta be a foul.
It might have been contact there. It's hard to say.
Well, the whistle blew, so I think you have to stop it, but you know, the completion did happen.
Right. Yeah, one of the big differences between this and club. You can't elect to play on there.
Montague has typically made good decisions this end of the field, except the very start. And he slices it through to Rankin. He also had Caldwell wide open in the back of the end zone, calling for it.
Which worked for them earlier in the game.
It's true, yeah. He's so, gosh, I mean, he's just baffling. When you're on defense and he's got the disc, I mean, he turned all the way around twice. Never panicking, seeing every angle, has every throw. I mean, as a defender, you just don't know what to do. He's just spinning around, spinning around. I don't know, I guess I'll throw that. I don't know. It's whatever, just throw it, I guess.
Which guy in the Seattle O-line is the guy with the right mentality to try to take the game over?
Nick Stewart. Nick Stewart.
Not Matt Rader?
I don't think so. I think Nick Stewart's got the kind of fire that could ignite the whole team. You know, if you feed him the disc deep a couple times and he goes up big, I think that gets everybody fired up. And they really need that. I mean, this is the away team, and one of the big differences between playing at home and away is when you're playing home, you get production from Drews, you get production from some of your role players. When you're playing away, you need star power. You need Nick Stewart, you need Mark Burton, you need your big names.
Andrew Brown racing downfield. Brian Hart chose the reset to Scullion. Shrywise. That's a tough throw. Over the shoulder of his mark and the other defender to get it to Hart. Have the Radicals made a careless mistake in the entire game?
No.
It's one of the reasons they're up by 5.
Yeah, they have been very choosy with their throws, working very patiently together.
Hart to Wiseman, yes.
I've never seen a player like Pat Shrywise. I've just never seen anyone that reminds me of him. I mean, what was that? He caught it on a layout and then did this weird little hip shimmy flick air bounce thing. I don't know what that was. It was high percentage. He can do it whenever he wants. And as a defense, it just makes you scratch your head and say, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? What is this? Watch this. What is that? Is that a golf shot? I don't even know how to react to that.
It was a unique throw, and then Hart putting it to space for Wiseman's 4th goal of the game.
I'm such a fan, you know. There's some players like Brett Matsuka of DC where it's like they have the disc and you learn that there's new things possible that you never thought of, and that's how Pat plays.
See if the Seattle O-line can respond and play turnover-free ultimate. Right now, Montague at the front of the stack, straight stack downfield. Rader cutting from the back of the stack will get the disc. And looking for Rankin, but Mechanic was just hanging out back there, and A terrible mistake by Raider because he had Burton wide open on the under.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Jay Fruit launching. Mechanix versus Rankin. Oh, Zane Rankin rising for the D.
He's such a heroic player. Zane Rankin never ceases to amaze. What an awesome D against Mechanix, a guy we said you can't get around.
If Seattle's going to get back in this game, we may look back at that D with about 7:45 to go in the third. Madison looking to go up by 7, and Rankin coming up clutch. Stewart looking for Raider. Freud, the close by defender. Oh, and Matt Raider shook him off.
Matt Raider.
I'm not sure Jay Freud has run into a statue like that in the end zone before.
Yeah, there was a lot of contact on his back there, and somehow Raiders able to not lose his balance, still go up, and make a weak-handed catch. Watch this D from Zane Rankin. He barely even knows where it is, locates it the last second, and just says, okay, I'm going to do the 1, 2, 3, I'm going up for it. And he just wins the disc, straight up beats him to the disc. It's incredible.
Mechanix's hand was right there.
And Raider really needed to get this back. Through a bad turnover, and watch him just get up through the contact. I mean, honestly, if he didn't catch that, I wouldn't have any problem with a foul being called.
No, it looked like a foul there. Fruit kind of giggling after the play like, yeah, I wasn't ready for this.
He said, I just mauled you, and you still caught it gracefully.
Brian Hart takes a shot. Kevin Brown versus Hussein Carnegie. Oh, Carnegie taking it to a new level. And he's shaken up on the play. Usually when you fall from that height, you do get shaken up. Holy cow.
Hussein Carnegie, look at the athleticism here off the backside. I mean, Kevin Brown is explosive. He reads this well. And
it was really Carnegie getting drilled by Sam Harkness that shook them up.
Sam Harkness bringing social justice down upon Hussein Carnegie.
It was funny because, I don't know about you guys, it looked like Hussein went up too early there.
It did.
He did. He D'd that disc on his way down from his ascent. That is not normally how that happens.
It's really incredible. He's had 2 of them now. At the end of the first quarter, just a ridiculous block over Weber and wriggles off the backside, and then he does this.
There are plenty of players on the sideline watching the big board, hoping to see this replay again. Players from both teams checking it out.
He was nowhere near the peak of his jump when he did that. That's insane.
So it will be Seattle's disc, a chance to get back within 4. Still lots of time, 7 minutes in the third quarter. Carnegie comes out of the game. Nick Stewart came on.
Not a bad sub.
No, not at all. Harkness stays out there, gets the first throw. Oh, and Matt Russell, another Seattle unforced error. That's a costly drop. And just not the type of play we've seen Madison suffer the entire game.
It's funny, we see that here. I feel like every time we see a team challenging Madison in Breeze Stevens, they tend to just have more turnovers than usual.
Brian Hart lets it go. Peter Graffi is there. Almost the same exact throw that Hart fired to Wiseman a couple possessions ago.
Yeah, good looking throw, and man, is Peter Graffi fast.
Yeah, again, the chemistry enabled that to happen. That beautiful put to space, Graffi reacting. There was nobody on him.
It just reverses the field all the way around. Graffi runs onto this. I think there's something really intimidating about this stadium. I really do. You see more drops here for away teams than I think you should. I don't know why that is. We've seen it over and over again. People
you don't see a circumference like this anywhere else in the league, even when it's not filled to this capacity. Kind of the J-shaped stands. And today, completely packed full of rowdy Ultimate fans. Earlier tonight, Dallas beat Toronto 27-20. Currently, Madison leads Seattle by 6. Midway through the third quarter. Raider taken off, but Burton even deeper. He beat Mechanix easily, and that's a gorgeous throw.
Wow, pretty. And Mark Burton, I mean, he's got a way of just always being dangerous. You know, he's downfield. He made a deep cut that Raider looked off. And those really high-level cutters, they have a way of sort of just always being ready to explode, always being ready to catch a goal. And that's Mark Burton. I mean, he's always ready to be a threat.
This is the type of easy offensive score that Seattle needs to do more of, because Madison's making it look so easy on the other side. Zane Rankin can do more than just rise up for D's.
Yeah, really impressive.
You're right, Evan, and with a slightly smaller roster, only 18 guys, they need these easy scores to keep their legs fresh. They need to be able to score in under a minute to close the gap and, of course, maintain some energy for the rest of the game.
Radicals back on offense with Scullion, Brown, Wiseman, Camp, Drews, and Annan. Shriwise, the member of the O-line, who's taking the point off. Brian Hart plays a lot of offense too, typically. Shows off the Radicals' depth. Camp looking for Kevin Brown. Got him.
I really feel like Madison is all operating on the same brain tonight.
That possession looked like it could have happened in practice with no defense.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've got like a DeAndre Jordan after I dunk on a guy kind of face right now. I don't know what to say about that throw. That is not fair. Look at this throw. What? What are you talking about? That is a perfect throw. In rhythm, the defender doesn't even get a half a second to turn his shoulder.
Couple goals, couple assists for Kevin Brown.
You know, I'll honestly say, too, I think the confidence these guys have here at home, if we were in Avaya Stadium in San Jose, I don't think that throw goes up. And if it goes up, I think it's a turn.
It's true.
These guys are so confident here.
It's a different level of swagger. Oh, Mechanix bolting through, could not come up with a D on Burton. But maybe he did. Burton throws it away. And Madison breaks immediately. Coolidge to Graffi. Largest lead of the night for the Radicals.
And if you ask me, Bree Stevens just got a block. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was that? It's just an intimidating place to play, you know, and I know Dallas is confident. And if they end up playing these guys tomorrow, I know they're expecting to win, but there's something that's going on here that's a little scary. I mean, Seattle, these are good players, and they're missing wide open centering passes and stuff. They're just shaking. They can't get that disc out of their hands fast enough.
20-13. The Radicals have continued to extend their lead. It was 6-3 after one, 15-10 at the half, and so far 5-3 Madison.
We just witnessed a really special event too. Tim DeBile was smiling. First time this weekend.
He's been pretty focused about putting on a show, both from the league perspective and to try to bring a championship to Madison. Raider again takes a chance. That's a nice toss, and Stewart with two hands in the end zone.
What can you say? That's still working.
Yeah, that was a beautiful put, beautiful cut by Stewart.
So that was gorgeous, no question about it. Raider strutted off the field after the throw. Stewart accelerating away from the defender on the catch. And yet that gets them back within 6. This has not been there for them every time. Why is that?
I mean, honestly, I think there's some nerves. The man D's been good. They've been, you know, doing some interesting things on the resets to make it really hard to reset. But I think the bigger problem for Seattle is they need to figure out how to break these guys. they need to get some breaks. And I'm not seeing a lot of openings for them.
No, and Madison has been doing a really good job of challenging them in the first half of the field, taking away a lot of their bread and butter. So they aren't able to open up and work the way they typically like to work. That's why.
The first unforced error of the night from the Madison offense. Duncan Lynn shoots it to Will Chen. Cascades have their first break of the day, with 4:36 to go in the third quarter.
Now that's big. And Seattle needs to think about putting a great line. You know, if they want to run any kind of special set here, this is a big deep point. They want to try to carry some momentum. It's the first time we've seen a chink in the armor, and they need to capitalize.
Little surprised to see Matt Rader, Nick Stewart, both on the sidelines here for this next deep point. They've got Russell, Snell, Carnegie, Harkness, Lynn, Clark, and Rankin. Rankin crossing over from the O-line to play D here. Logan Pruce on offense for the first time tonight for the Radicals.
Would love to see Kevin Brown go deep on Hussein Carnegie.
Andrew Meshnick, Peter Graffey, Kevin Pettit-Scantling also playing offense, and a turnover in the handler set. Lynn, a proper holster to Snell, to Russell. Seattle gaining confidence. That's 2 breaks coming in a span of 23 seconds.
And they got it from not their A-list guys. You know, they didn't have their top athletes in that point, and they got a break. That's big. Now you can bring in your top 7 and really try to intimidate.
Yeah, and they came off of unforced errors from Madison, both very uncharacteristic throwaways, so close to the end zone. It really didn't take much for Seattle to work it in.
And I think we know why Madison has started to panic here. It's because Tim DeBile smiled. And they're not used to that. They don't know what that is. And they got nervous.
Rankin will pull again for the Cascades. Stewart is out there for this deep point with Dong Yang Chen, Matt Russell, Duncan Lynn, Hussein Carnegie, and Sam Harkness. Andrew Brown still waiting for a mark. Gets rid of it before it arrives. Brian Hart has the disc. Marked by Nick Stewart. Dangerous throw, Duncan Lynn. Very close.
If I'm Madison, I want Schreiwise in the lane. And here he is.
Chased by Harkness. So Schreiwise thought about the shot to Wiseman, but give Rankin credit. He was stride for stride with him downfield.
Yeah, it's the right call.
Under. Rankin back with him too.
Schreiwise really should take over here.
He's got the disc.
Yeah, he should try to go every other. If he can get the disc right back, go get it.
Wiseman has been making Rankin run a long way. A pick called downfield. The first pick we've seen called today. Maybe it'll disrupt Madison's flow just a little bit. On the restart, looking for Brown, incomplete. Here come the Cascades.
And the Seattle sideline is on fire right now. They smell the weakness. They see that blood in the water. They're going to work.
Seattle does have both of his timeouts. This might be a good time for one. And here it is. Danny Karlinski making the call from the Seattle sideline. The Cascades were down by as many as 7, but Seattle has scored 3 straight, and they've got the disc in their hands again, just shy of midfield. 2:47 remaining in the third quarter in the second semifinal. Seattle on the move, trailing by only 4. Welcome back to Breese Stevens Field here in Madison, where Seattle is making its push. Folks at halftime said they expected Seattle to make a run, and here it is. Less than 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Less than 15 minutes to go in the game. They've trailed by as many as 7. They could get back within 3 if they can convert on offense out of the timeout. And they're going to have to go against the Madison 7 plus the Madison 5,000 in the stands.
Wow, it is just deafening right now. KPS motions to the crowd and they deliver. It is loud.
Montague gets rid of it to Rader. Rader takes a shot to Burton. Got him! What a catch by Mark Burton with Jay Fruit approaching. The 4th score in a row for the Seattle Cascades.
Man, I was nervous. Were you guys nervous? That was so intense.
Rader with a big backhand fake and then giving his teammate a chance to make a play.
Yeah, here's one of the leading goal scorers in the league. And you're saying, you know what? The resets are tough. I got a guy with 2 steps deep. I'm going to throw it. And Mark Burton comes through like he's been doing all year. This guy just makes it look easy.
With Jay Fruit in hot pursuit, you know that Fruit is going to lay out for that D.
Rader with an impressive strike, throwing it deep. He just turned 25 years old in July, and Mark Burton, a few years older than that. Mark will be 30 in October. Can the Madison O-line stabilize?
Look at these guys running down on D. Full sprint for Bolton.
Scullion, Annan, Trywise, Drews, Hart, Kevin Brown, and Colin Camp.
And Will Chen forcing Tom Annan downfield again. I think that's such a smart move.
This is Drews, parallel to Kevin Brown. There's a different level of energy from the Seattle downfield defense right now. And for the first time, Madison looking a little flustered. Drews on the under, sliding catch, tough grab by Trywise. Over the top. Madison making some difficult plays here, executing them. Here's another difficult toss. Camp to Hart. The Hodags connect in the city of Madison to get the first goal for the Radicals in quite a while.
Was that the same? That was Camp who threw the last one. Same throw. That is a tough throw, and he makes it look so easy.
To Kevin Brown before, and now to Brian Hart.
That is some big stuff.
Really, Madison was looking ever so slightly flustered, or perhaps I shouldn't say that. They were having to churn a lot more to generate the same cuts, the same looks. It's huge for this team at this point to have that score from Brian Hart.
And look at where this cut comes from. Brian Hart was almost even with the thrower as he began to take off downfield, seeing the space.
And Camp steps around. There's a foot. There's a foot right out. He has to bend it around the defender's foot, and somehow it just makes an accurate throw. That is some high-level stuff. Nick Stewart's in the lane.
Stewart looking for Caldwell. Got him. The type of Seattle offensive possession we saw from them during their last regular season game against Vancouver and the 2 playoff games against the Aviators and the FlameThrowers.
That's right, and you know, they saw a matchup they liked there. Mike Caldwell, he's getting up there in years, but this guy has been a premier first cut downfield player, you know, for decades. And he just said, you know what, I got Weber on me. I know I can win this foot race. Just put it out to space.
Mike Caldwell will be 40 on September 6th. Started playing elite club in Chicago in 1997. They made the semis at Club Nationals back then. Moved to Seattle in 99, joined the top Seattle club team Sockeye in the year 2000. He was 20 years old playing at the elite level, and he's talked about how, you know, back then I was by far the youngest guy. Now there are a lot of guys, teenagers, 20, 21, 22. Of course, Raider joined the top Seattle club team when he was 16, 10 years ago. Now he's 25. Closing in on the final minute here in the third quarter. Will the nerves of Madison tighten up at all? Can they stay as loose as they looked in the first half?
Well, I think you're seeing nerves already. And this, I mean, let's not forget, this Seattle team is an elite team that is used to getting big wins against players just like these Madison players.
Kevin Brown chased by Carnegie. To his brother, Andrew. Cross field, over the first reset to Schreiwise. Now he gets it to Kevin Brown. Wiseman downfield. Marked by Snell. 27 seconds on the clock. And it's knocked away by Harkness, but a foul was called on the mark. Integrity rule imposed as Ben Snell impacted the throw.
How sick was that D by Harkness, though?
Nullified by the integrity rule, turning it over. Wiseman needs help. Annan. Brown. They needed a big swing. It's knocked away by Carnegie. 8 seconds. 5 seconds. Chen, can he throw it the full 80 yards of the field? Are you kidding me? You are kidding me!
Holy smokes!
Will Chen, the distance to Russell after Carnegie's D. Seattle gets within 2 at the buzzer. One of the great pressure throws in a desperation situation I've ever seen.
And another insane D from Hussein Carnegie. And what can you say about this guy? Every time you need the play, he's making it. All the energy that you need, he's got it. And Will Chen just dials up a frickin' dime.
That wasn't even Carnegie's man. He just recognized a score was about to happen, inserted himself, and then Will Chen.
Through the 2 defenders. 2 guys trying to block that backhand.
You saw the official in the middle of the field get taken out. Somehow he gets it off. Oh, the referee kind of set a pick on Brian Hart a little bit, but I'm not sure it would have made a difference.
I don't think it would have. But yeah, it's worth mentioning just what the window that Will Chen had to throw to there, let alone the fact that it had to be 80 yards and it had to be inbounds.
One of the greatest plays of the season in one of the great games in the history of the league, taking the turn into the fourth quarter when we come back to Breese Stevens Field. will see Bo Kittredge, Jimmy Mickle, and the rest of the Dallas Roughnecks tomorrow against either Seattle or Madison. But a half hour ago, it felt like it would certainly be the hometown Radicals who were up 20-13 with 5:21 to go in the quarter. And over the last 5:21, it has been a 6-1 run from the Cascades, who are receiving here to start the fourth, looking to get back within one. Last time they were within one, the game was 2-1 in the first quarter.
Mechanic guarding Burton downfield. Oh, yeah.
Karlinski looking Stewart's way. Riggles and Mechanic trying to sandwich him. And Riggles took charge. Mechanic bodying up Stewart.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that play by Mechanic, but it's legal. It's a play.
Why aren't you a fan of it?
Because it's not playing the disc. It's just intentionally getting in the way of the receiver. I don't like it. It's not cheating, though.
KPS finds Frood across midfield. Coffin. When he caught it, there was no one ahead of him in a blue jersey. Swings it for Mechanic. And Mechanic finds Graffi. Madison begins the final quarter with a critical defensive break.
Yeah, and it's a really loose throw by Danny Karlinski. He's got Nick Stewart with a step deep, and he just throws a moon ball. I mean, hey, I like Nick Stewart too, but for sure make a throw.
But in his defense, those odds have been working in Stewart's favor all game.
It was surprising to see Stewart stop.
Yeah, just get it out in front of him. The guy's a sprinter. I mean, I know you want to get some. I think what we saw there was that end zone. We've talked about that end zone. It's just tough to read the wind. And I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if you talk to Danny what happened on that throw. I think he probably thought this was going to be a little tighter throw. He was a little off balance. But man, look at this thing hang out. And see, Mechanic just gets in front of him, intentionally stops him.
You're
He's
really
not
critical
making a
of
play.
this.
No, I mean, in my book, that's cheating.
Why?
But I know the rules because you're not playing the disc. You watch Mechanic, he gets in front and even puts his elbows back and shoves him out of the way. That's not a play on the disc. They don't call that a foul, but in my book, that's garbage. That's not an ultimate play.
Looked like a good ultimate play to me.
Shows what you know, bro.
Rankin, oh, a desperation swing. Logan Bruce knocks it down, steals it away. The eruptions of this crowd for Radicals highlights is something to behold. And a pick downfield will force Riggles to regain possession and retreat 10 yards.
Kind of a changing of the guard play there. Logan Pruitt coming in and getting a D on Mike Caldwell.
Timeout called by Tim DeBile as the Radicals look for a second straight break to begin the fourth quarter. Does Seattle have enough left in the tank after their 6-1 run to close the third? Radicals by 3, 10-14 to go on semifinal Saturday.
Imagine you're in a new town for a couple of days and you find yourself wanting a bike. Use Spin Lister to rent any kind of bike in your area in over 55 countries. Have an unforgettable adventure while saving up to 40% on rentals. And whatever you do, don't forget to enjoy your ride. Rent a bike today or list your own to start making money and connecting with awesome people.
Just got the official word, just shy of 3,000 people through the turnstiles. I believe this is the largest crowd in the history of the AUDL. If Madison can hold off Seattle in the fourth quarter, we might break that record tomorrow.
Yeah, this crowd is insane. So much fun and really adding a lot to this game.
Certainly including all the stadium workers, operations crew, video crew, well more than 3,000 people here. First throw turnover out of the timeout, not what Tim DeBile had hoped for. Jesse Bolton, pestered by the double team, gets it to Lynn. Tom Annan did a nice job of preventing the break. but he fouled him.
Yeah, he just hit his hand. No big deal. I know the crowd doesn't like it.
Back to Russell. Carnegie. What a pickup he has been for Seattle. Clark takes a chance. Snell turns on the Jets and makes the heroic catch.
You're starting to see that energy. You know, when we interviewed Donnie Clark out west during the playoffs, and he just said, when this team's playing their best, they're having fun, they're light, they're energetic, and you can see it right now. These guys are storming the field. They're so excited when their guys make plays. Ben Snell playing big.
Ben Snell just made the club junior catch of the game. Check this out.
You know, and Donnie Clark gets the disc, sees big Scott Riggles down there and says, I got to make this pretty accurate if I don't want to get a deed. And Ben Snell does a little extra work, huge bid there, and gets his team fired up. You can see him start to storm on the right side of your screen.
And anytime you have to reach out with just one arm and grab nearly the tail end of that disc, you're liable to get D'd by the ground, but Snell did a fantastic job holding on to it.
Snell, a few years removed from an ACL injury as well. He has worked his way back. This is a bomb the other way.
Sefton coming to help.
Kevin Brown nearby, and it's Kevin Pettit-Scantling who nearly cleaned up the trash. Kevin Brown slow to get up as Seattle goes the other direction. Will Chen, cross field to Dong Yang Chen.
Peter Graffey playing center field there, stopped the Huck goal.
But Seattle, 2/3 of the way down the field.
Man, could this game be any more fun?
It has been spectacular. Just what we hoped for coming into the weekend.
BJ Sefton's starting to look pretty intense as he gets open for the goal.
Seattle within one for the first time since it was 2-1. Now it's 22-21, 40 goals later. We've got a one-goal game.
Yeah, and this is, you know, I mean, we've seen so many low-scoring Madison games. I mean, this is the kind of ultimate you want to watch. It's so entertaining. Both these teams are playing well. This isn't the case of two teams pacing each other towards mediocrity. It's two teams playing their best, firing each other up, and really raising the level of play for the whole sport.
Bringing the best out of each other at times. Sefton collects the goal.
Now that Seattle has brought themselves within 1 point, it'll be interesting to see if Madison can continue to hold offensively, or if that pressure will force them to make decisions that are unbecoming of their offense.
Big possession for Madison. They got to calm it down, get some activity downfield. Riggles gets open.
Either Madison holds or Seattle ties it up. Trywise thought about it. He had Wiseman, but Carnegie was lingering nearby deep.
I love this matchup. Nick Stewart on Trywise.
Up the line, Trywise makes the catch. Drews to Riggles, to Drews. Andrew Brown. Trywise calling for it, gets it.
Brian Hart wants the disc.
Under 8 minutes to play. Madison leads Seattle by 1. Dallas awaits the winner. Andrew Brown with one of his patented breaks of the mark, and somehow Trywise got wide open. No one within 30 yards of the intended Radicals target.
You know, it's a lot of fun to get to see how good Trywise is. We've seen him just tool on guys who are pretty good, maybe high-level pros. We're getting to see him play against Nick Stewart. We're getting to see him play against some of these high-caliber Northwest players and just make them look slow, make them look average.
And that point was really every other Trywise, just as you had hoped for earlier, Chuck. He did a fantastic job of maintaining calm the entire duration of the point. There were a few times where you thought he might unleash, but he kept it calm. He kept taking those easy shots, and then there he was, free for the taking.
So Madison back where they want to be, playing defense. Rankin, the top of the Christmas tree in the vertical stack, chased by Mechanix.
Big bid from Andrew.
Karlinski took off, now coming back under. The 223s matched up against each other, Karlinski and Coffin, as Burton launches for Rankin, who's got Mechanix beat. That's a gorgeous throw from Mark Burton.
That is something, man. Mark Burton just sits down and dials up a beautiful huck.
And here in Madison, Wisconsin, he just celebrated with Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers wrestling belt touchdown dance.
It is what it is, you know. It's the Mark Burton show. He's a thespian, starring in the new role, Aaron Rodgers, crushing it. Look at this flick.
Oh, and Caldwell almost took it away from him.
He did. He scared the old man. He said, leave it, leave it, leave it, leave it. Caldwell almost gets in the way.
This is the kind of offensive capability that I thought might undo Madison's defense. When Seattle is hot with the disc, they can put it anywhere.
Each team has one timeout left as Brian Hart made the windmill catch and then got absolutely hammered by Sefton.
Wow, that was scary.
It was.
And by the way, why in the heck did he catch that with his right hand?
Stays in the game, throws it high. Camp couldn't make the play. There's a whistle.
I'm not sure what happened.
Perhaps Hart did not wait for the whistle to start play. That's a huge gift for the Radicals there.
Wow.
Kevin Brown rifles one,
Here
looking
comes
for Colin Camp. Carnegie motoring from behind, but he can't get there in time. Camp needs help. Lots of traffic around the end zone, but no mark on Camp. And now they call a stall. Camp is yelling that there wasn't a mark, and let's see if this gets re-adjudicated. It looked like there wasn't a consistent mark on Camp for 7 consecutive seconds after that catch.
But how close do you have to be?
You have to be within 3 meters. So here's the catch. They have called it a stall.
Yeah, Carnegie was within 3 meters that whole time.
I'm not sure he was.
I think he was. Watch the tape, guys. Carnegie made the bid, got up, never guarded anyone else. Wasn't close, but he was within 3 meters.
This is chaos right now. The referees whistled the game to restart while Carnegie was still being ushered off the field by the athletic trainer and the team owner, Exton Titcomb. Holy cow. Seattle's going to have the disc. A chance to tie. They trailed 20-13 after Graffy's score with 5:21 to go in the third.
And the Madison coaching staff will not leave the field.
Tim DeBile sensing things slipping away.
Yeah, it's getting a little too close for comfort. Wow, 6 minutes to go in a 1-point game.
Winner of this game plays for $25,000 tomorrow. Noon local time, 1 p.m. Eastern for the opening pull. And the discussion continues down on the field. It was Brian Bradburn, the trail referee who just ran through your screen, that made the initial call on the stall. And it looks like now they're going to give Camp the disc back. Integrity rule from Seattle in a 1-goal game in the semifinals on championship weekend.
Wow, now that's spirit of the game.
This is a special sport, I'll tell you. Kevin Brown on the reset, rifles it, got it. Madison back up by 2, Seattle's O-line charging onto the field.
Am I crazy? Wasn't Hussein Carnegie within 3 meters that whole time? I mean, what's the problem?
Honestly, Chuck, I would need to see a yardstick laid out. I really don't think that.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously close, and he might not have been. He might not have been. He was awfully close.
Well, think about it. The end zone is 20 yards deep.
Right,
How
so
far away is Cam standing from the end zone?
So Carnegie.
He's right on the goal line. Carnegie's.
Is that 3 meters? That might not be.
No, he backs away now. He's 5 meters away now.
I think when he gets up from the bid, he's already outside of 3 meters.
So now you're admitting that you were wrong.
Hey, Evan.
So we think it's a good integrity rule by Seattle.
I think it is, and I am really proud to be an Ultimate player right now. There's a lot on the line.
That was cool.
Dangerous throw. O'Brien hauls it in and finds Stewart wide open. Interesting. Matt Rader on the sidelines right now, not on the field for this O-point.
Yeah, Montague on the far side of the field all alone.
Continues to Caldwell. Back to Montague.
Lots of space. Front-loaded defense here. Lots of space on the back.
Montague just barely got it off to Karlinski. Now, not a lot of movement from the cutters downfield. Stewart's been waiting for it. Finally, he's found by O'Brien.
Yeah, you got to feed the monster.
That's not an easy throw to throw it with the velocity that O'Brien just did on that hammer.
It's true, and you're going into that end zone, that Bermuda Triangle down there where you just never know what to expect.
What the wind's going to do.
Yeah, he dialed it in.
But does anyone else find it humorous that one of the most athletic players on the Cascades was able to make that score by standing still?
Yeah.
Oh, he jumped.
He jumped a little. Just to be safe. He did it something athletic.
24-23. Madison by 1. The Radicals have never trailed in this game. The only tie was at 1-all, 56 seconds into the contest. Down to the final 5:34. Andrew Brown hits his brother Kevin. Patch Rywise taking off. Rader out there on defense this point. See the arm chop of the trailing referee, meaning the stall was beyond 5. Well, Brown was winding it up, but holstered it. It was his brother Andrew going deep. Andrew's a great player. That's not necessarily his greatest strength. This is. Brown gets away with a push-off and takes a chance. Clark and Hart. And Donnie Clark turned on the burners.
Right when you need him, Donnie Clark shows up. I don't know what just happened.
Contact on the mark. Duncan Lynn will walk off the 10 yards.
Holy cow. That was a tough throw off the sideline.
Yeah, into the opposing team's end zone.
Yeah, very risky.
Rader launches the scoober. Will Chen. Some of these Seattle players, when they're marked awkwardly by Madison, marked unlike they usually are, almost lose balance in their active pivoting.
Yeah, it's true. We've seen a lot of wrong-footed throws.
Timeout, Seattle. It is their final timeout. We will take it to 4:09 on the clock. Seattle looking to tie it up here in the fourth quarter. Mario O'Brien, Danny Karlinski, Simon Montague, Zane Rankin, Mark Burton, Mike Caldwell, Nick Stewart. The 7 Seattle Cascades that will try to march the disc down the field and tie this game up for the first time since it was 1-all in the opening minute. Radicals sidelines trying to get the partisan crowd as loud as possible.
You know, Seattle loves crowds. They love playing big games in front of big crowds all over the world.
This is what the AUDL is all about. Montague marked by Pettit-Scantling. Here we go. Karlinski. Burton freed up on the under, marked by Frood. Stewart wide open. Miscommunication downfield on a switch. Back to Stewart. Burton, Stewart. Burton, not in. Montague. And Madison calling for a foul, and the referee grants it. A push-off ruled by the trail referee, Kai Hudak. Seattle keeps the disc, but it'll be 10 yards shy of the end zone. Could Madison have a championship defensive stand right here? Burton to Montague. Tied at 24, 3:11 to go.
And Montague loves to just stick it to the crowd, doesn't he? Gets open on the break side, and he is flying away with that goal. We saw him do the same thing in LA, starting to taunt, kick spiking against LA in front of the home crowd. He's a guy, like some guys feed off that kind of energy. He's one of those guys. So it's interesting to see him integrate with a team that generally, you know, doesn't do stuff quite like that.
Seattle has outscored Madison 11-4 over the last 14 minutes and 10 seconds of game action.
It's incredible. This Seattle team is no joke. I mean, they really caught me by surprise. I should have known better, but in the Western Division playoffs, they really surprised me with how good they are.
What kind of internal mettle do the Madison Radicals have in this situation? Not the greatest downfield spacing we've seen all day from Madison, that's for sure.
No, they're tightening up. I mean, I'll say it again, they really need Schreiwise to take over.
Drews gives it to Pat Schreiwise, marked by Matty Russell. Uses the hammer to reset to Wiseman. Kevin Brown. Schreiwise takes off. Russell chasing. Schreiwise up for the disc. And he will punch it in. Colin Camp gives the Radicals the lead again.
If belief was faltering on the Madison sideline, Pat Schreiwise just renewed it. He is playing like they are still 7 points ahead.
Chuck Kindred's always been a huge Schreiwise fan. Plays like this will get Schreiwise many more fans.
Look at this. I don't know why they haven't been throwing more to him. He's on another level. And you know what else? He's never nervous. He never tightens up. When the pressure's on, he actually makes more incredible plays. Everything with him is high percentage. Look at this. Where is he looking when he throws that? He like catches it, collects himself, 1,000-yard stare, and a flick out to space. He's something.
Alrighty, Seattle back on offense. Raider back on the O-line, receives the under. Listen to this crowd. Tied again at 25 as Rankin hits Raider.
Jeez Louise. Seattle, I mean, you can see it, that Seattle is also feeding off this crowd. Seattle loves this. They would love nothing more than to win on the road in front of one of the biggest crowds we've ever seen.
Yeah, they have really come to life, which isn't to say that they were playing poorly at any point in time, but this is the offense they are known for.
And you see that release point from Montague.
It's almost a travel.
Yeah, just like a weird little high release IO forehand, and then Rankin gets it around. Everybody knew that was where the threat was. Peter Graffi knew that's where the threat was. Rankin, too good.
You can sense the frustration of this Madison defense that really took advantage of its opportunities. Seattle was a little shaky in the first half. Seattle's offense has found its gear, and Madison's D-line has not really been able to match up and answer.
It's definitely interesting. And, you know, Rader, we see Rader every time he catches a goal, he has this, I mean, he looks almost insulted that you tried to guard him. And I think that's where he plays his best.
Interesting to note, Nick Stewart on the field for this deep point, guarding Pat Schreiweiss.
I like it.
Hart chased by D.Y. Chen.
Wow, lots of picks down there for Nick.
Man, compare these points to the offense points that Madison played in the first half of this game. How much more they're having to work, how much harder they're having to cut to get open.
This is why you play. I mean, this is...
Stall count rising. A stall is called. Seattle will take over possession with 1:20 remaining in a tie game. Unbelievable. Seattle is out of timeouts. Carnegie to D.Y. Chen. Sam Harkness.
They need the reset.
Now there's no rush here for the Cascades. Snell to Stewart. D.Y. Chen into the end zone. For the first time tonight, the Seattle Cascades have a lead, and there are 36 seconds left.
And with no timeouts and everything on the line, Seattle could not have been any more calm, could not have been any more dialed in there. They just took every high percentage shot, never panicked, kept the disc moving, kept doing what was working. That's incredible.
Patient, calm, collected, and 36 seconds away from a date with Dallas.
Incredible.
If the Cascades can hold off here. And we are getting ready to watch the most important offensive possession in Radicals history. Kevin Brown, Scott Riggles, Andrew Mechanic, Logan Pruce, Peter Graffi, Kevin Pettit-Scantling.
Schreiweiss not on the field.
And Thomas Coolidge. This is basically the Madison D-line. Oh, no one guarding Mechanic. A huge error. Mechanic to the end zone. Knocked away! Seattle has the disc on an outrageous D from Donnie Clark. 25 seconds on the clock.
Look at how much space he makes up. Coming the whole way, just gets the tiniest finger on it.
On a receiver like Thomas Coolidge, no less.
Holy cow, Donnie Clark, we've been wondering all day, where is this guy? He's such a key to their success, and he comes up in the biggest point in a huge game with a massive layout D. Here's hoping he's okay.
So 25 seconds on the clock. Seattle is going to be somewhere around 4, 5, 6 completions away from wrapping this up. No timeouts except this injury break here.
Looked like he landed hard on his chest, possibly.
This,
he's holding his sternum.
Like he knocked the wind out of him.
When this throw went up, it looked like it was a good choice.
Oh, it looked perfect.
Look at the gap between Coolidge and Clark.
Perfect throw, look at that, perfect throw.
What?
I mean, you got to throw that, and Coolidge has to close out on that.
That is the definition of leaving everything out on the field.
Yeah, that's belief, right? That disc goes up and you say, shoot, I'm out of position, I blew it. Or you say, I'm never going to give up, I believe, and you keep going. That's what Donnie does. That's Donnie Clark's spirit on display.
If Madison can get a D, the Radicals do have a timeout left.
Double team.
Karlinski gets rid of it. finds Raider, who launches the length of the field. Rankin left it all out there, but fell shy of the disc. And the clock will stop on a Radicals timeout with 17.6 on the stadium clock.
And Raider says, my bad, they're playing it.
DeBio was trying to call a timeout, they didn't grant it. We're down to 13 seconds. Kevin Brown rifles one. Pettit Scantling wiggles in the end zone, and it is knocked away. The final seconds disappear, and the Seattle Cascades have shocked the Madison Radicals at Breese-Stevens Field. An improbable comeback. And the kids from the Pacific Northwest with a shocking performance down the stretch to close out a classic.
And Kevin Brown does exactly what he needs to do. You got to get it to the end zone, give your guys a chance. KPS so close here. But the ape index of Sam Harkness comes into play once again. A huge block, great intensity from Seattle, and they steal one here.
Cascades 26, Radicals 25. Seattle closed the game on a 13-5 run. Heartbreak here in Radical country.
Absolutely, and Evan, we can see if we were to watch this game again exactly where the momentum shifted. It was when Madison made two back-to-back unforced errors right on Seattle's end zone line. It seemed to be all Seattle needed to charge back from a 7-point deficit to win this game by 1 point.
It's the first time the Radicals have lost here at Breese-Stevens Field in over 1,000 days. Their 31-game home winning streak comes to a close, and yet they still are very appreciative of their hometown fans. It will be the Seattle Cascades and the Dallas Roughnecks meeting for the AUDL championship tomorrow. What an unbelievable spectacle we just witnessed. This one is going to sting for a long time for the members of the Madison Radicals, who with 5:21 to go in the third quarter led 20-13. Seattle had that incredible buzzer beater, the goal line stand at the end of the third, and then Will Chen's full field huck, 80 yards or more in the air to Matt Russell. That made it 21-19. And Seattle wins the final quarter 7-4. And that was enough. Seattle on its way to the title game against the Dallas Roughnecks. One of the leaders of the Seattle Cascades, Danny Karlinski, down to the field with Chuck Kindred.
A huge come from behind victory against one of the biggest home crowds we've ever seen in Madison.
A lot of grit, a little bit of luck, but definitely figuring some stuff out in the second half that we did not know what to do in the first half.
What did you guys figure out in the second half?
I think just clamping down, being tighter on our marks and the handlers, but they were running so fast it was really hard to stay with them, so kudos to them, really.
Any guys, I mean, I was watching the other team, I saw Pat Schreiwise do some stuff that was just baffling. Any guys that you really were wowed with from Madison?
I mean, the reality is I respect Tom and Andrew a lot, and the fact that they can just drive the offense with such great percentages that it's really, for me, I'm inspired by it.
Yeah, pretty incredible stuff. So your team, I mean, speaking of inspiring, you guys really stepped up, showed us all kind of another level. Who are some of the guys that you really give credit to for this win?
Definitely Hussein Carnegie, huge ups, and obviously Donnie with that amazing block at the end of the game.
Unbelievable, unbelievable, Dean. I feel like when I think of Donnie Clark and his spirit, I saw it on that play. Like, this is a guy who never quits, always believes. What's it like to be a teammate with Donnie Clark?
It's unbelievable. He has more energy than any human being I've ever met, and it is obviously shown on the field with plays like that.
Truly incredible. What are your thoughts going in tomorrow? You guys are going to get a chance to play, you know, some familiar guys, and Bo and Cassidy and a few of these folks like James Mickle. What are your thoughts going into that game? This is a juggernaut team. This would be an even bigger upset.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are just in the mentality that we get to play together, and that's all we're focusing on. It's about Cascades and extending our season for as long as it goes, so we're really excited for tomorrow.
What happened in terms of energy between the first and second half tonight? I noticed, you know, in the first half you looked a little tight or just not having as much fun, I guess. Is there an adjustment you guys make, or you just play through that?
I think there's a little bit of figuring them out. They threw an incredible zone, great, tough person defense. I think there's also a little bit of the fact that most of us came off of a plane today and our legs were not warm. So I think a little bit of that helped.
Interesting. Well, we're really looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Congratulations on an incredible win. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Bye, Evan.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Chuck. Well, just looking out on the field right now and seeing some of the faces of the Madison Radicals, it's truly stunning. Tears are omnipresent, and this is a heartbreaker for the Madison Radicals. They led by 7, under 6 minutes to go in the third quarter, could not close it out. So many plays from the Seattle Cascades to bring them back into this game. Donnie Clark throwing this. Ben Snell bailed him out on a throw that was a little too far. Last play of the game, Madison looking to tie it up, could not do it. Donnie Clark, the D, and the Radicals able to, or the Cascades rather, able to do just enough. Shriwise played great, but the Seattle Cascades are moving on to Championship Sunday. It'll be Seattle and Dallas tomorrow. 14 minutes from now, 10 p.m. local time, 11 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live on Facebook via the AUDL on our game day set to break down all of what just happened. But for now, on behalf of our entire crew, led by Luke Johnson and Josh Havens, for my broadcast partners, Chuck Kindred and Megan Tormey, I'm Evan Lepler saying good night from Madison for now. The Radicals fall short, and the home winning streak comes to a close. Seattle and Dallas coming up tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Have a good night, everybody.